Hey, I'm Steve Young, and you're watching the Letterman Podcast. I hope you enjoy.
Welcome once again to the Letterman Podcast. My name is Mike Chisholm. I'm excited about this episode. Now this episode, it's a long one. It's a huge one. But that being said, I'm excited. The reason it's a long one is we had a hangout. And it's the first time that we really did that. I'm a podcast enthusiast of all sorts of, there's all sorts of shows that I enjoy in this medium. And one thing that I do enjoy is when you have a podcast that's been established for a little while, and then friends of that show just come in and have a bit of a hangout. And that's what this episode is. So it's a long one. We're not going to split up into two parts. It's just three people, two people, and then three. Then it becomes three people hanging out, talking about Letterman and stuff. And it is a new guest, but you can tell right away that it's I'm a little bit more relaxed than I normally am because Adam Unger is a buddy of mine. He is, and I really appreciate Adam Unger. Now, who is Adam Unger? Well, we do give him a bit of an intro in the actual show itself, but the Coles Notes version of it is he's Warren Zevon's official historian. Warren Zevon, of course, a long storied history with late night and late show with David Letterman. Absolute a part of the David Letterman mythos. Whenever Paul Schaefer, of course, would take time off, Warren would lead the band. Warren made countless appearances on late night and late show with David Letterman. I just really enjoyed Warren's place and when he passed away way too young. It was a major blow for those of us who love the company of David Letterman and Company. And it was a very emotional time when that happened and the stories around that. We get into some of that in the show with Adam here. Adam Warren is Warren's official historian. He and I are very similar in many, many, many ways. And we're just buddies. And so we get together, we start shooting the bull. This is kind of the first tilling of the earth of a Warren Zevon episode, but we're going to have Jordan Zevon, Warren's son, on the show here moving forward. We're not exactly sure when that is, but that's going to happen. Adam talks a lot about projects that they have going on. Very, very cool. One of the things, and it happens at the end of the episode. Some of you might not make it to the end of the episode. It's 2.5 hours long. You can reach him at adam@warrenzevon.com. Now, he basically said, if anybody out there has any rare things about Warren or collectibles or stories about Warren, you can reach out to him there. I can tell you that they're working on some box set stuff. We talk a little bit about that in this episode, and I'm going to just let it unfold for you. I'm going to try and keep this intro as short as I possibly can, but there is a couple other pieces of business that we need to do. One other piece of business that we need to do. Over the holidays. By the way, this episode was shot before the holidays, and there's a few things in it that have come to pass since then. I talk about the Foo Fighters shirt that I love so much that I've now got the Foo Fighters shirt. Check out the video on YouTube that we have showing me unwrapping the Foo Fighters shirt from Dan Flaherty. Again, I'm so grateful for that. We're going to be working on a campaign to get the Foo Fighters on this show. And we talk about Darlene Love. At that point there, I thought maybe Darlene Love might come on the Letterman podcast. I've since said that, I've gotten some emails from her and we've gone back and forth and probably we'll shoot something this year here, kind of reviewing things, which will be cool because then we can go through her career and not just focus on the Christmas of stuff. But anyway, and there's a few other things we talk about in this hang that we do. So just so you're aware, it was shot before the holidays. Now, over the holidays, I had a great kick out of a handful of folks who discovered our show for the first time. It was very, very cool to get messages from some people who do appreciate both the deep dive and Letterman and the idea that that's what this show is all about. And we do want to deep dive and then celebrate and build a community, all of that stuff. This episode being part of that community, we just want to hang out and talk about stuff. I hope that we can do more of these episodes. Now, that being said, one of the people who discovered our show really, really likes it. So I'm sorry for those of you who are annoyed by me. That's just fuel for my fire. He absolutely loves all of the episodes from the beginning, awkward ones before we started to find our voice. Some would say that we still are looking for our voice. That might be true. Anyway, his name is Andrew Azer. Andrew Azer, Azer. or in Canada, as we say, Azer. What is it? Azer? I think so. Andrew Azer. He lives in Massachusetts. He reached out to me after having discovered our show and said that he's been binging it. And I mean, you know, dude's pretty impressive. I think he's 60 something episodes in. It's pretty impressive that he could do that, and he's very excited about it. And messages me little details from each episode that he appreciated and that sort of a thing. Amazing guy, college professor, and I just really appreciate the fact that this is where these connections are starting to form now. We've got a couple of episodes of community members coming out soon, but Andrew is being highlighted in this episode of the Letterman Podcast because he discovered something. Now, for our listeners of the show, I'm sorry. I'm going to try and figure something out for the listeners, the people who listen to this thing audio wise. Join the Facebook group. Let us know if you're a listener to the show rather than a viewer. The Spotify video and the YouTube certainly get an advantage because of the show and tell stuff that we do. This episode has a lot of show and tell in it. However, Andrew discovered something that we have done from, I don't even know when it was. It'd be fun to find out which episode we did this for the first time. But right now in the bottom corner of my Zoom screen, it says Mike Chisholm. Normally it says the Letterman Podcast with Mike Chisholm. Now, most people or nobody has caught on to the fact, or at least confronted me by catching on with the fact that we spelled podcast wrong in the vast majority of our episodes. We changed the spelling of podcast every single episode. And two people noticed it when the record light was off. The first was Bill Carter, which I thought might shake the first impression, but no, he was cool with it when he realized that we do this for every show. And the second one was Eddie Brill. And both of them didn't say anything about it publicly, so I just left it. Andrew one day messages me, and I forget what episode he was on, and he said, "Hey, did you know that podcast is spelt wrong in this episode?" I'm like, "Yeah, I sure did, buddy. You're the first one to confront us about it, so you are getting yourself a Late Show with David Letterman rejection postcard, a real bona fide Late Show with David Letterman rejection card. We're going to send that to you. Congratulations. Thank you very much for the patronage of your ear holes and your eyeballs on this show. We thank you so much for that. And just excited for this new year that we are in. Excited for the inventive, different types of episodes that we want to put out this year. And we got a lot of surprises in store. A lot of irons in the fire, as they like to say. So this episode of the Letterman Podcast, of course, brought to you by hello-deli.com. Go to hello-deli.com. Correspond with Rupert G. Buy yourself some Late Show with David Letterman merchandise, mugs and hats and all sorts of fun stuff, and t-shirts and all the good stuff from hello-deli.com. Please enjoy this episode with Adam Unger and special appearance by Don Giller. Adam Unger, I am so excited about this because for a variety of reasons. Nice mug, by the way, sir. Go to hello-deli.com. You want to buy a mug like this right from Rupert. Dude, this is going to be the best, in my opinion, one of the best Letterman podcasts we've ever had because it's just you and I shooting the bull. I want to just give you a bit of an intro. This is Warren Zevon's Guy. What does that mean? Well, we're going to get into that tonight. Exactly the definition in this case of the word guy. We're going to figure that out. But we might do that by way of a few other very cool, interesting detours, like what this guy is to the band Queen. Yeah, he's something to the band Queen. He's not just Warren Zevon's guy. Also, he and I may discuss a little bit of pro wrestling. So this is going to be friendship. Like you're going to be seeing friendship in motion, plus full disclosure. And I haven't talked about this very much on this podcast. Sorry, Adam, please. Thank you for indulging me here. The idea that we want to create a Letterman podcast network, we want to create some communities of like-minded people who were affected by all of the Late Show or Letterman mythos. Warren Zevon certainly a big part of that. And I'm just really, really stoked that you and I found each other because I'm kind of wanting to be the Letterman guy. You got yourself into being Warren Zevon's guy. I want to talk to you about that. So I just wanted to give normally I reshoot these, but tonight, because we got the Facebook Live going and whatnot, I wanted to kind of do it live. I'm stoked that you and I are brothers from another mother. And the first time we talked on the phone, it was hours and it was just this great thing. It's great that we're finally doing this. There it is, ladies and gentlemen of the Letterman Podcast. audience, this is Adam Unger. Hi, buddy.
Hi, thanks for having me. And we talked for months about doing this, and we almost did it one day. You got a hold of me and said, "Hey, I need a guest for this week," and I
Yeah.
wasn't able to do it because I had something going on with my kids. I
Yep.
think we had gymnastics class or baseball or something.
Yep.
And the next episode was Dick Cavett. So I guess, was I the person keeping Dick Cavett from being on the show? And is this supposed to be Dick Cavett part two? And he got bumped because I was available? I hope not,
Absolutely.
because everyone's going to be
Absolutely.
angry with me if I preempted Dick Cavett.
No, you know what? Dick Cavett was one of those little things that I can't believe kind of stayed a secret. Don Giller knew.
Don
Walter
knows everything.
Kim, Walter Kim knew with Pants. You know, because that was one I wanted to kind of make sure. It, not that it wouldn't have been fine, but I make sure with some of them that we're cool. And I get advice on that. So yeah, they were aware of it as well. But I don't think, did I tell you? I told you, didn't
You
I?
didn't.
I
No,
didn't tell you.
no.
Yeah.
You kept that secret from me too.
Yeah.
I'll
That
hold
was
that against you.
yeah, no kidding. That was a good one. I mean, anything with Dick Cavett is a good one. And so, but I am really, really excited. One of the things I want to talk about today, by the way, is because Jordan Zevon is going to be coming on the show.
Yep.
And we're excited about that. I want to do a bit of a bio of Jordan, obviously Warren's son, obviously, the Wallflowers connection, obviously, recording. Maybe not so obviously. A lot of folks may not know that he's, an artist in his own right. And so I want to really make sure we introduce the audience to him that way as well.
Yep.
But it connects directly to what you're doing. So there's a little preview for the audience. Let's talk about you. Did you start with Queen first and then move over to Warren Zevon? Was it vice versa? Where did you get into this? What do you do now? And where did you get into being the guy, as I'm aspiring to be the guy in a certain way for Pants? How did you do it?
It's a long, weird story that isn't terribly interesting, but we'll tell it anyway since
It
we
is
have
to me,
time.
my friend. It is to me.
So I grew up being a Queen fan. Queen was kind of the first band I got into being, 11, 12 years old.
Yep.
That's a result of Wayne's World.
Yep.
I think everyone around my age, that's how they discovered the band. And I think Beatles have fans like this too, where they're almost obsessive about it, where they get every version of every album, different mixes and the B-sides and edits. And,
That's
the
Will Lee and
minutia.
Don Giller, by the way, that you're describing right there. They have
Yeah.
both of that with the Beatles for certain. Yeah.
So that's me with Queen.
Yep.
And it went from starting at 12 years old to now 30 years later.
Hmm.
And I got introduced or connected with their official archivist. His name is Greg Brooks. He works for the band. And we first connected around 2005 or so.
Yeah.
The band was looking to put a compilation together of their singles and B-sides.
Yep.
So we first met that way. Go ahead another 10 years to 2017. Queen and Adam Lambert are going on tour in America. And I'm immediately irritated that there's no new Queen product to support that. And why would you have this big tour and not have a product available for the American audience, something related to America? Something. So I sat down, I bought my tickets, and then I designed probably about 5 different product concepts fully, and sent them to him. And he remembered who I was, and he loved what I did. And he kept asking for more input. And some of this stuff did make it to the band's management and was considered. But more so, it started a relationship that at the same time the Queen movie was going on,
Yep.
that was being filmed, and a lot of his time was being occupied by dealing with the minutia of Hollywood and props and anything Queen related. So at the time, Virgin Music was licensing out the Queen catalog to a company called D'Agostini in Italy. So it was a set of 25 vinyl records, and each record came with like a 9-page book.
Yep.
And he was probably about halfway through writing the text for those books. And he sent me an email one day and said, I just can't figure this sentence out or this paragraph out for one of the albums.
Mhm.
Tell me what you think. And being pretentious, I rewrote the thing and sent it back to him.
Also, what an opportunity.
What an opportunity. I happened to be off work that day. I got that email and I sent back a response right away. He liked what I did. He said, great, we'll credit you on that.
Hmm.
And then he said, well, here's the ones we have done so far. Take a look at them and tell me what you think. And one thing of credit I will give him, he's very open to outside suggestion. And if it's better, that's what he goes with. And he doesn't have an ego about him.
That's how we improve, right?
It is. He said to me, if we're going to work together, we need to be completely honest. And if it's bad, it's bad. And if it's good, it's good. So I gave feedback to the ones he did already. He said, I could use their help for the remaining 12 albums. So the final 12 albums of that set, I got to help write the booklet for it.
Okay. Is this at this point here, how old are you when this happens?
37.
37. Okay. You tell 21-year-old Adam that this is going to happen in like 15 years.
It would blow his mind.
Okay. Okay. And this is something that you and I have a lot of these moments where you tell the 21-year-old version of ourselves, this would happen. You and I have both. I think one of the things we have in common is we have a lot of both of those kinds of moments.
Great opportunities, right?
That have led to mind-blowing moments. So yes, unbelievable. So you are the credited in how many of the 19 albums, 19 books? So like 16, 13, 17 of them?
13 or so. And that led to another gig. There was an official Freddie Mercury book that came out called A Life in His Own Words.
Yep.
So I worked with a team, and Greg sent me a bunch of interviews to go through, and then sent a ton of audio interviews. So I've listened to literally hundreds of hours of Freddie Mercury audio interviews, and it was transcribed for the book.
That's amazing.
It is amazing. And I got really interesting access, and it was interesting to see how Freddie reacted against different interviewers, or depending on what mood he was in. He was a pretty private person. So when he was comfortable with someone, it was a much different version of him. It was a lot more candid. And to everyone listening, we will get to David Letterman.
Eventually, but we're going to get to Warren Zevon. No. We're going to get to Warren Zevon too, though.
That led to an opportunity to do a box set, Queen's album from 1989 called The Miracle.
Can I ask a question about Freddie first? Can I ask? Can I jump in and ask?
Sure.
Okay, so one thing that's come up on this show a bunch of times talking about musicians is that or people that Dave has interviewed that might be on more the infamous side than the famous side.
Sure. Warren is part of that crew.
Yeah, I mean, I think Warren's the guy on the edge, but then you got a guy like Kanye.
Sure.
You know? But the example I use, and Kanye is probably an extreme example of it. I mean, you could use softer examples too, like Chappelle would be a good one. That folks who are that high level of an artist, okay, and Warren's certainly on that list, but of course Freddie Mercury might be the top of the list when it comes to that. If you are to accept the genius that they put out there, we need to give a bigger width and breadth for the fact that they are such an artist that may live in the moment at that emotion at that time or whatever, and give them sort of a wider highway when it comes to communicating, because these people get misunderstood. Freddie would be an example of that. I
think so. Being a private person and also someone I think wasn't interested in talking about himself.
Right.
I think outwardly he said his work was disposable and it was a product.
Freddie Mercury said that.
Yes, it was like a Bic razor blade. It was disposable. I don't think he believed that, but I think it was a good defense mechanism in interviews. And I just don't think it's something he enjoyed very much. I think he liked the fame, he liked the money, he liked the attention.
Yeah.
But I don't think he liked the pretense or the fakeness of what an interview is. He didn't really want to sit around and talk 15 minutes about Bohemian Rhapsody, which he might have written 15 years ago.
Right.
I just don't think that was part of the job he really enjoyed. With that being said, there are interviewers he enjoyed being around, and there's a difference when he was in an interview with the rest of the band. He was a lot more open, and it wasn't all focused on him, and it got to be spread around a little bit.
Gotcha. Also, would he have been a character? That's the one thing I want to know about some of these people. Like I want to talk to Colbert. Colbert obviously played a character forever, you know, and then he comes over to Late Show. Is he another character right now? Is it the real deal? Freddie would be one that I would say, you know what, when he's in band mode, he probably gets into character and just, you know, he's a pro. He's an expert. He's, you know, he's that darn good.
I think in private life, though, private life, he was quiet, unassuming. He had
Yeah.
his close group group of friends. And
Sound like
then
anybody we know?
sounds like a lot about someone we know, right?
Yeah.
Um, maybe seems like they're aloof to others.
Yep.
But also with Freddie, there's another aspect of that where you're looking at someone who is gay, at a
Yep.
time where that's not accepted. And then you have a situation later in his life, he's dealing with having HIV and AIDS,
Yeah.
which, if you grew up at that time and can remember, there was a huge stigma about it.
That affected the late night crew, by the way.
Mhm.
A lot of real under the armor parallels here.
Yeah. And,
New
it's a
York.
thing. It's a thing with him. It's not only protecting himself, his friends, his family,
Yep.
his career, his bandmates. Um, they ran into some trouble in the mid 80s in the US where they weren't as accepted.
Yep.
They had a video where they dressed in drag, and that did not go down well for the MTV audience. And, stuff like that affects a career. Thankfully, we're past that, and it's more accepting. But at the time,
Yep.
that wasn't the case. So I think that's why he was guarded a lot of the
Did
time.
that happen with Queen? Was there a backlash against Queen?
Yeah, big time. So
Huh.
probably
I thought it was a
height,
cooling off period, and Wayne's World brought it back.
it was a long cooling off period. It was about a 12-year cooling off period. They had a
Whoa.
huge album in 1980 with The Game. It
Yep.
went to #1, had 2 #1 hits with
Yep.
Another One Bites the Dust and Crazy Little Thing Called Love.
Yeah.
The follow-up was
Iconic. Both of those
iconic.
iconic songs.
And you couldn't find 2 more different songs.
No
But then you go
kidding.
to the next album, which was released the same year, which is the Flash Gordon soundtrack,
Yeah.
which is not an album you listen to in the car with your friends. It's a real movie soundtrack, and it's not really accessible. That's followed up with basically a dance disco album called Hot Space.
Yeah.
That was not accepted well. They went to a different record company, Capitol Records. There was a payola scheme issue with Capitol at the time. Anyway, the next album, The Works, was doing well, but it kind of fell off the radar.
Yep.
They released a few more albums, and it really wasn't until he died that they came back into prominence. They were kind of seen in the US, at least, as just an old classic rock band, whereas in the rest of the world, they were still the elite. It also didn't help they didn't tour here after 1982 with Freddie, so that kind of didn't help. It became a chicken or egg situation. They're not
Right.
touring until there's a big hit, and they're not going to have a big hit until they tour again. So
Now,
it just
that
kind of
being
fell
said,
away.
was it Live Aid that brought them back, or was that a false start?
I think that's overstated, especially in the US.
Yeah.
The movie kind of plays it off differently. They were touring throughout 1985. They were in Japan a few weeks before Live Aid. Obviously, Live Aid was a big shot in the arm to them because they did have an incredible performance.
Yep.
And that led them to go back in the studio after they were going to take a bit of a break.
Yep.
But for those people that saw Live Aid in the US on MTV, part of their performance was eaten up by commercial time. So they performed like 3 songs and they came back in midway.
Yep.
We Will Rock You or something. So
that says something.
Yeah. They went to commercial
something.
during Queen.
Yeah.
So
yep.
They were kind of a thing of the past. And they weren't the in thing at the time.
Freddie was Freddie in was it called? All They Want for Christmas Time. Remember the We Are the World? There was the British equivalent of it. Freddie was in that, wasn't
Band-Aid,
he? Band-Aid. Yeah.
Do They Know It's Christmas?
Do They Know It's Christmas?
They were invited to take part, but I think they were on tour with their album The Works at the time.
Gotcha.
Bob Geldof, the guy who ran Live Aid and that whole charity thing, is really close with Roger Taylor, the drummer from Queen.
Yep.
Speaking of which, Roger performed on the 30th anniversary edition of that song that came out a few years ago. So, regardless, no, they were not part of that. Because they were busy doing their own thing at the time.
Yeah.
There was
Wayne's
also
World...
some.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No. I've got a question that's going to take it in a different direction. So what was?
There was some backlash at the time too with the band because they performed at Sun City.
Right.
Of course, that was a big UN hotspot. Artists were encouraged not to perform in Sun City. There were a few that went against the UN mandate. Queen was one of them.
Yeah.
Because it was a really big paycheck, and it probably hurt them. in terms of public opinion, but it was a big paycheck, and I understand that.
Do you remember the song "I Ain't Gonna Play Sun City"?
I do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. No. God, I appreciate taking this rabbit hole with you here. Now when you talk about Wayne's World, and again, this is where you and I are like again right on the same parallel. Don Giller might join us tonight, just so you're aware. He may.
Oh,
he may
excellent.
jump in with us. Yeah. If we're just shooting the shit and he feels like it. He's man, he's working on something pretty crazy for our episode 100, and I can't thank him enough for that. But he may pop in with us. But my question is this:
Is it Dick Cavett? Is Dick Cavett episode 100?
You know what? I'll start teasing it now.
Yeah.
Don
If
Giller
I'm
is
not
building...
on, it's Dick Cavett.
I feel like you might be part of this thing, dude. Like seriously, especially once we get into a couple little Zevon factoids. Don is building a compilation of the Letterman podcast, and so
excellent.
far it's probably going to be a 2 or 3 parter. He's looking for a script for you, by the way. He just commented on the Facebook Live, so he is watching right now.
Good.
Whether or not he chooses.
Yeah, I did put Don to work.
Don, come on, buddy, come on in. The water's warm. We're going to talk Warren Zevon. And by the way, Don Giller sent me a picture that Dan Kellison gave to us a couple weeks ago, and I sent it to you because I knew it was a Zevon thing, and you identified the back of the album cover in the picture. So that was really cool. So
yeah,
I'm just getting that because Don's watching on the Facebook, and now it feels like worlds are colliding. This is great. This is the first time we've ever done this. Thank you for doing this with us. Let's go from okay. I have in my head around the same time that Freddie Mercury died, within 6 months to a year, Wayne's World's out. Am I wrong, right or wrong with that?
He died November of 91. I want to say Wayne's World probably came out in March or April of 92.
Okay. So confluence of events, I would think, where one kind of, where, you know, we always re-examine the artist when they're gone, and there are many people who are Johnny come latelys or whatever, but I just remember high school. I would put akin to, back then there were 2 bands that kids were discovering that their parents loved. One of them was The Doors and the other one was Queen. And to me, that's like when somebody, you know, like in high school now discovers Nirvana, or they discover, you know, the Chili Peppers, or even Green Day or something. Like Billie Eilish was on Letterman's thing, and she talked about how much she loves Green Day. To me, those 2 things would be like on an SAT exam, they would be kind of comparable to each other. Is that
there's an interesting confluence of things that happened around that time too.
Yeah.
So you have him dying, which of course is a big media event. You know, a rock star, AIDS.
Yep.
You have Wayne's World.
Yep.
Then you have the Freddie Mercury tribute concert. Yeah.
That video was #1 when they were in that Gremlin.
Yeah.
Like that was massive. You saw that all summer. It was everywhere. It was #1 on MTV and Much Music up here in Canada. Like that song was everywhere.
What's interesting, the song went to #2 in the US that year in 92. I think before that, when it was originally released, it only went to #9.
There you go.
Which is incredible. But at the same time, you have the Freddie Mercury tribute concert, which happens also in April. So that's a real interesting thing, because that was all over MTV. And then you had artists like Elton John.
I was just going to say the very famous Elton John performance. Yep.
Metallica, Seal, Lisa Stansfield, George Michael, Def Leppard. So anyone who was anyone at that time, including current popular artists like Metallica.
They were an artist who loved Queen.
Yeah, exactly. And that kind of made it okay and opened up the door to kind of get into their music a little bit easier. So if Metallica is performing Queen songs, well, maybe I might like Queen too. So I think that played a big part of it too.
Oh man, I love talking about this with you. Now, okay. What else do we need to know about Queen, and how do we bridge it to obviously you're gathering experience. So when you start with Zevon, you know, you've already got a bunch of experience in the head, and you've got ideas and all these sorts of things. So you had direction already. How did the bridge happen?
In terms of how I became a Zevon fan, or how I got to end up doing this?
Both, man. Yeah. Like I want to know how you went from being the guy that Queen is starting to depend on and working and collaborate with. Why Warren Zevon, and how did it develop?
So my fandom of Zevon started, it kind of false started 4 or 5 times before it actually sunk in.
Yeah.
I'm sure as us being similar age, We both stayed up real late and we watched TV, and we were allowed to, and it was great.
Yes.
My sister
And we
would
weren't
leave.
allowed to sometimes.
That's right.
Yes.
The deal was my sister would go to her friend's house, and I was allowed to use her room,
Yep.
which had a tape deck and a TV.
Right.
And in 1989, that was a big deal.
Yes.
So I'd stay up, and of course, Saturday Night Live
Yep.
was getting red
Yep.
hot at the time.
Yep.
Enough so that Wayne's World became a movie. And the other thing, Arsenio Hall was a huge deal.
Absolutely.
His show
God, I
ran
loved
from
watching Arsenio.
89 to 94.
Yep.
And his show was so accessible.
Yep.
Because in retrospect, Carson is amazing, and we love Carson.
Yeah.
But at 10 or 11 years old, to me, Johnny Carson was something my grandparents watched.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a version of that for younger people.
Yes.
And Arsenio kind of broke that open. And the interesting thing is, when I was done watching Arsenio, I was caffeinated on Mountain Dew and had Doritos in me. And at 12:30, it was late.
God, I miss the 90s, brother.
Yeah. Well, this is late 80s and early 90s.
Yeah. No, I miss it.
But then it became, there was nothing else on. And
Yep.
the only other thing was late night.
Yep.
And we'll finally talk about Letterman a little bit.
I know.
The tone of late night, and I'm not going to say anything unique here that has been said in your other 90-some episodes.
Say it anyway.
The tone was so unique compared to everything else.
Yes.
Even from the show opening, you get this weird droning synth and the camera going down the street through the
Yep.
buildings.
Yep.
There's a dog, and it's amazing. And
Yeah.
then the show opens. You have this really weird band that's like, it's all Moog synthesizer and rock. And then Letterman comes out, and compared to what I'd seen from Arsenio, which again, I think Arsenio is amazing. I think he did
Yep.
a great job with both versions of his
Absolutely.
show. But Dave just came out with an unreal confidence. And
So
I don't
you
think I
like
realized-
Letterman before you like Zevon. Harvey Goldberg just
Yeah.
popped on. I want to say hi to him. And I just want to say that you like Letterman before you like Zevon.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. Thank you. I just wanted that distinction there. Because I also accessed Warren Zevon through Letterman in many, many, many respects. I think a lot of us have. Just like you came along to Queen with Wayne's World. To me, both those things, what they have in common is fresh perspective.
It starts to collide a little bit as we go forward too. But it got to be, I loved watching Dave because even being 11 or 12 years old, it was really easy to break down the show because I knew after that monologue, there's going to be something wacky that would happen. It'll be stupid pet tricks or the top 10 list or something wrong would happen in the show, and Dave would make fun of it the whole night. He might have a horrible guest, which was awesome to watch because he would just skewer them. Or if it was a guest that he absolutely loved, like Terry Garr, the show was amazing because
I just watched her compilation from Don Giller, the Terry Garr stuff. If you haven't seen David Letterman, Terry Garr, Don Giller has I believe it's a 6-part deal. It is, and it's an evolution. Watching from the beginning to the end, you see them both age. It is trippy, and it's also extremely entertaining. I apologize for interrupting, buddy.
No, you're fine. But then he also had primetime specials.
Yes. Oh, the primetime specials. Oh, they were so good. I was allowed to watch those because we were up. My parents would watch them with me.
Yeah. So I think it was like Thursday night. The 10th anniversary one came on.
Yep.
Because I remember the bumper. Dave came on and said, I feel just as sick as you do about preempting LA law. And I'm like, that is such a great line. Because I think Cheers wasn't on, and whatever, I think Wings or whatever came after Cheers at the time. And it was so good. And we taped it. And my dad and I would watch it, and we would cry from laughing so hard.
Yes. Yes.
And then, of course, he went to CBS, and we started taping the shows at that point.
Before we get there, can I ask you, and again, you and I have not pre-done this at all, which is exactly the genius. Like, again, we're watching two friends just shoot the shit, everybody. It just happens to be there will be a lot of Letterman and stuff as the collateral of us just shooting the shit. Oh God, I forgot the question. I had it there. The preemption.
This is where live streaming doesn't work well on Facebook. This is where we need an editor.
Oh no, I'm keeping it in. I love it. I love showing that I get brain farts when it comes to this stuff. It'll come back to me. Okay, so shit.
Nothing like dead silence.
Yeah.
I was talking about going to CBS.
Yeah, but I wanted to talk about. Oh yes, thank you. You did it. You lifted the car out of the pothole. Thank you so much. So I have a memory of on a Thursday night, a similar preemption but not a Letterman. It was the Comedy Store. I think it was the 15-year special. Did you see that? Howie Mandel, Yakov Smirnoff, and Letterman did a set, and he brought a special top 10 list. And that was another moment, just like those anniversary shows, that I loved. I loved when he would appear on something else because it happens so rarely.
I was going to say, it's amazing to me that he would do that, because that doesn't seem like something they would have done.
Exactly. And then there was a Bob Costas interview. If you're going to watch it, everybody
on
watch
later.
Oh yeah. And then
because it's a raw version of it too.
On Don Giller's got the raw version of, the Costas interview, and it is fantastic. I just wanted to note those two things I think were seminal for me in late night memories. The anniversary specials for sure, because they caught you up on older stuff. Also, the only thing I wanted to add otherwise, were you aware of Lawler and Kaufman by that point? Was that another one of those moments where, okay, so you weren't. So that was another big one for me before he moved to CBS, the Lawler thing. Because we're both wrestling fans. We're both big wrestling fans.
We are big wrestling fans. I don't say that out loud very often, but I am. I didn't become aware of the Lawler thing until years and years later. But it's interesting to see him on other shows. Because you can tell how uncomfortable he is being interviewed on Costas. And you can tell he respects Costas so much, and that's why he's doing the show. And he does a great interview with Costas. But during all the commercial breaks, you can tell he's hating every moment of it. Or it seems as though he's uncomfortable.
Absolutely. By the way, Don Giller says that the Comedy Store special was in 88. I'll tell you this.
Thanks, Don.
Yeah, thank you, buddy. And by the way, Don Giller loves to be called buddy. Loves that.
Buddy.
Honorary
Canadian.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, he could run the place. I mean, I'm certain he could. But anyway, yeah. So then the move to CBS, which is another, again, Zinnemann talked about that when he was on the show. He said that people who were in high school when the late shift happened, or early college, it's seared in their brain differently than it's seared in other people's brains. Were you aware of it as it was happening? And did you jump on the Letterman train at that point? Me too.
Absolutely.
It was huge for me.
I was a teenager by that point.
Yep.
And Leno was projected as being such a villain.
Yes.
And such...
The first time he was.
Yeah. The first time he was. And to me, he just seemed like a dork. I didn't want to watch that show.
Right.
And I think Jimmy Fallon gets a lot of the same flack now. Fallon did a really good interview where he said he does his show the way he does because he wants everyone on the show to win. He wants everyone who comes on to get across well and win and do well.
Yeah.
Letterman isn't quite like that. With Letterman, you need to come on and you need to perform. You need to earn your spot to be on that show.
And if you earn it, you're going to get something real special.
Yes. And also with Dave, if it's someone that he personally likes, Warren would be one, which we'll talk about that momentarily.
Yeah, absolutely.
Terry Garr comes to mind. Obviously, Robin Williams. But it's also someone like a Peter LaSalle who's not used to being on camera. Dave will take care of that person, and it'll be an amazing interview.
This is where we connect, everybody. Adam and I are both gigantic Peter LaSalle fans. And for those out there who are in the same boat, you understand the appreciation that we have for this guy. He is, I've heard that he's not really perhaps up to do a Zoom. I do have a couple ins there, and I would very much. I'll tell you this. There's one thing I want to talk to Peter LaSalle about. It's Jack Rollins. Dave's legendary manager.
I don't want to plug another podcast, but there's a Carson podcast, which is how I came across you, by the way. There's a lot of...
Are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
Mark Malkoff's episode is how you found us out?
Well, it was more of, I really liked the Bill Carter episodes.
Yeah.
So I started searching Bill Carter for podcasts. And I'm like, oh, there's a Letterman podcast too. So that was it.
Oh my God. The Late Shift. There it is right there. Also, there's a parallel. Seminal, and also it's what brought us together. Just to go back to Arsenio for a second, I think with Arsenio, he, for the first time, gave me permission to like 2 talk shows. Because to me, Letterman and Carson were under the same sort of, I wouldn't call them one talk show, but it's like Godfather 1, Godfather 2. Sure. And Godfather 2 is the one that I just absolutely, and so, but that being said, then you like Arsenio, like along the way, my golden age of talk shows, my golden age is Dave on Late Show, Craig Ferguson, and Conan on TBS. That's every single episode, every night, a lot of the time, and definitely DVR'd and caught up on everything. I think Arsenio gave our generation permission not to be because some people were a Dick Cavett guy or a Johnny Carson guy, and that certainly wouldn't have happened with me growing up. I would have worshipped everything that those guys did. Safe to say we match on that?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think the whole Dave and Jay thing kind of made it that way, though, going forward.
Yeah.
So, but when he moved to CBS, it was a huge event, obviously.
Yep.
And the show was so fantastic. And as I said, when he got a guest that he really liked and enjoyed, it made such a big difference.
Yes.
He had a guest on, I can't remember the gentleman's name. Don will jump in, I'll know. But he was someone who was on the autistic spectrum. And I think he was on a documentary called Brain Man. And it's someone who could do math in his head. He could recite pi, for hours on end.
Yep.
And it was such a charming interview with Dave. Because he was genuinely interested in the person. He helped him out on the show, and it was a fascinating back and forth. And to me, it's an interview like that. It's why I became a Dave guy, not a Jay guy, because it's not something I don't think Jay could have done. Because Jay's not a broadcaster, and that's the big difference with Dave. He is a broadcaster. He just happens to be a comedian too. And it's a completely different mindset. And again, growing up, I loved staying up and watching Tom Snyder after Dave.
Oh God, absolutely. Shout out to Anne Marie, by the way. Anne Marie's going to be part of our group. Anne Marie's going to be part of our group. When I talk about this, the idea of a Letterman Podcast Network and special projects and all that, we're assembling a group around this thing, and she's going to be one that gets invited into that fold as well. She's got some cool stuff with Anne Marie Snyder. So thanks for bringing up Tom. That's fantastic.
And the great thing with Tom, and Dave eulogized Tom perfectly, and Dave falls in this category too. It didn't matter who's on the show. You watch it because it was Tom. You watch it because it was Dave.
I do that to an extent with Rogan now.
Yeah. Yep.
Rogan's
fantastic.
Yeah. Elon Musk the other day. Like, oh my gosh. Oh yeah, totally controversial at times, but unapologetic about it. That again sound like someone we know. Sensitive. Like, and I mean, he's got ways around it, and he's got he doesn't look at comments and things like that, but still totally sensitive about stuff. The Neil Young thing killed him. And he put out a beautiful, humble video about it. So anyway, so I think there's a lot of similarities with Rogan and Letterman as well, ones that go way below the surface. He's my number one guy for my next guest. If Dave could talk to anybody on this planet, I would want him to talk to Joe Rogan. Because it would be a do-si-do where Dave would appear on Rogan's podcast. Sure. Tell me that wouldn't be absolutely epic.
I don't know if he would do it.
I know. But if he did, holy shit.
What was the original question? Zevon, right.
Zevon. Thank you, buddy.
Anyway, as we get into Dave, and we became nightly watchers of Dave. And if not, we taped it. And let's go back a little bit. My first exposure to Zevon was Werewolves of London. So 12, I got my first CD player. My brother-in-law has the Time Life Sounds of the 70s. And 1978, it's We Are the Champions with Queen.
Yep.
And Werewolves of London is on it. And Dreamweaver by Gary Weaver. And Lowrider by War.
Nice. That's good stuff.
But it occurred, I kind of put Warren Zevon at the time as a 12 or 13-year-old in this group of maybe comedy musicians, or maybe comedy is not the right word, but maybe kind of like a disco duck thing with Rick Dees, or Kung Fu Fighting was on that CD.
I was going to say, maybe, or like the Bare Naked Ladies from Canada.
Yeah, exactly like
that.
But
real personality, and you don't really, it's got a little bit of everything, and
or maybe like a Dr. Demento kind of thing, or just not like a serious artist. I saw it as a novelty act. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So that was my first experience. Then we come around to Letterman, and there's this guy filling in for Paul.
Yes.
And I remember my dad and I watching it that week. That first week he filled in, and I'm like, oh, that's the Werewolves guy. But it was hilarious. They did this bit of If it doesn't work out, there's a guy that kind of looks like Paul that'll fill in. If that person doesn't work out, we kind of have a guy that looks like Warren that's going to fill in. But Dave's mood was great because you could see he loved having Warren there.
Yeah.
And just like Paul, Warren had a hot mic and he would interject and it would be so funny.
Yep.
And just it fit the tone of the show because Warren, like Dave and the show, it's kind of offbeat.
Yep.
It's kind of one of those things, if you know, you know.
Yep.
It's cool. And of course they do the normal Letterman stuff. They do small town news.
Yep.
And Warren does the theme song. And I
Mhm.
remember seeing that for the first time and I was like, holy shit, he's really good. He is really a good musician.
Yeah.
And of course, the bumpers before they come back from commercial, they seem to be a bit more extended where they let Warren play some more. And I'm
Yep.
hearing these songs I've never heard, and I'm like, this guy is really good. He's playing guitar and piano and singing and harmonica and the whole deal. Go ahead.
Can I ask a
Raise your
question?
hand. Yes, Mike.
Was he just playing his own music at that point? Was
Pretty
it just
much.
his stuff? Okay, yeah, that's
Yeah.
I think it's worth illustrating to the listener who might not know that when
And there's a
Warren
reason
came
for that,
on,
too.
okay, and I want to talk about that. That's something that's on my checklist of things to want to talk about here tonight. Is that there were nights where, correct me if I'm wrong, every song played was other than the themes were basically a Warren Zevon original, correct?
Yeah, and I think Warren came in with music written out. He wrote out music of rearranging popular songs,
Yeah.
whether it be Britney Spears, "Oops, I Did It Again," or whatever it was. And Dave's like, "No, play Zevon stuff. We don't want that other stuff. That's why
Wow.
Warren's here.
Don't do what Paul does.
Yeah,
Don't
do what
play
Paul
the
does.
pop culture stuff. Be yourself completely.
Yeah, be Warren." And Warren was totally
Yeah.
cool with doing whatever. I remember there's one night he did a Steve Winwood song. It was probably Back in the High Life again, because Warren did cover that for a later album. And Dave brings it up. "Why are you playing a Steve Winwood song?" And Warren responds, "I'm fatigued by my own work," which I like that response.
Yeah.
So
I dig it.
I learned a little bit more of Warren from this.
That sounds so smart.
Yeah, it is. And it's witty, just like that.
Totally.
So we keep going and I continue learning about music, and Warren Zevon is more than just the werewolves guy, but I kind of still don't care.
Yep.
I get to college, my junior year of college. I am flat broke. I am out of money. I am so screwed in life at this point. Take a semester off college. I'm just working hard, trying to make things happen.
Such a horrible rock bottom.
But it was also fun.
Yes.
Because no one really expected anything out of you because you weren't anything at that point. So anything's an improvement.
Yep.
I had this friend who I went to high school with. His name's Tyler Bresler. Hi, Tyler.
Yep.
And he's that one dude that that knows more about music than you ever will.
Yeah.
He's the guy that tells you about Lou Reed and the Velvet Underground and tells you about these bands like the Smoking Popes and these people you've never heard of before.
I've had like 4 people in my life that is that role for me, almost like a musical sage.
Yeah. And
yes,
no matter how experienced or what I know, he will always know 8 times more than I do.
Yes.
So
Don Giller is that for me. So too is Will Lee. Those are 2 guys in my life right now that like, I love talking about the Beatles with them. Like, Now and Then just came out. I wanted to know both those, their perspectives on it. Right. Because it feels like you're sitting at a wisdom tree. And I absolutely love that. Super, super, super cool.
So this Tyler guy messages me on AOL Instant Messenger. That's what the kids used at the time, or ICQ or something like that. And
Can I say something real quick? Can I say something real quick? Don Giller just chimed in. Stage manager Corky, who love to have a conversation with Corky, would sing a Warren Zevon song during the final break with Warren.
Oh, that's great.
Very, very, very cool. Okay, so questions to ask Jordan. That's going to be one.
Add that to the list.
Add that to the list of questions to ask Jordan Zevon when he comes on. But a cool discussion point though.
Yeah.
And maybe we can get footage. Maybe we get footage of it and show it to him.
So my buddy Tyler says to me on Instant Messenger or whatever, "Hey man, I'm going to see Warren Zevon tonight for like the 5th time." Tyler went to Boston University or Boston College. He's like, have you ever seen Warren Zevon live? I said, "No, he's the werewolves guy that fills in for Paul sometimes." And he's like, "You have to listen to his music." So he sends me a copy of perfectly legal, not an MP3 off Napster or anything.
No.
Anyway.
Never. Not our generation.
Not our generation.
Yeah, that stuff ended with that. We took a stand.
Yes. Yes, we did.
Because we were forced to,
Anyway,
because Keizo was destroying our hard drives anyway.
yeah,
Go
yeah.
on.
Thank you, Lars Ulrich, for showing us the way. Anyway, he sends me a copy of Roland the Headless Thompson Gunner.
Yep.
And I was blown away because
Yep.
with music, you're used to being like, verse, 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 chorus,
Yes.
and then a slightly different version of the verse,
Yes.
chorus repeated,
Yes.
and that's the song.
Yep. Format.
And here
Complete
you had
format.
Yeah. So, and this was completely not format.
Yep.
Here you have a 4-minute story that is a song. And it blew me away that, there's a whole little world that happens in this. And it's not just, here's a hook, here's a couple verses, and here's the chorus repeated. And
Is it like country music in that regard?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think,
but
I
it's
don't
more
think in terms of
folklore
performance or tone.
Americana, Midwestern Americana, perhaps. I don't know how to say it, but it tells a story the way a good country song does, right?
Yeah, correct. I think it's more Bob Dylan than it is Metallica.
Thank you. Yes. Great.
And the lyrics just jump out at you. And Dave has talked about this ad nauseum, and I don't want to repeat his points, but they're incredible. Evocative, I think, is the word he used. And when I first heard Werewolves of London, the lyric, little old lady got mutilated late last night, blew my mind because you don't hear, like, it's so violent, but so funny at the same time.
Yeah,
in the same song.
It's lighthearted.
So from that, there's a 2-disc compilation called I'll Sleep When I'm Dead. I got a copy of that. And I didn't really listen to it. It went by the wayside. The Wind came out. Of course, famously, Warren was on Letterman for that full hour, which I'm sure we'll get to that.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed that, but I still wasn't hooked. And it wasn't until I got to be about 27. It's a point in life where you have a career, you're successful, you have relationships, and then it all falls apart on you. And you're like, holy crap, I'm 27 and I don't know what I'm doing. And as a result, you go to the bar with your friends. And at this point in life, life was still fine, but just it wasn't on the trajectory I thought it was going to be. So you go drinking with your friends. And at that bar, there's a guy named John Thompson. He went by JT Blues. He still performs in this area. And he would perform, and we got to going there so often. He would come over and sit with us and hang out between the sets. And you've been drinking and going to the bar too much when the musical guest knows you are. So we'd go in right away. We'd throw $20 in the fishbowl, and he'd play whatever we wanted to hear all night. So I was requesting stuff like All Right Now by Free. And he happened to do Werewolves of London one night. I said, do you know Roland the Headless Thompson Gunner? He said, no, but I know some other Zevon. And he played Lawyers, Guns, and Money, which I didn't really know. And my best friend was with me at the time. Best man at my wedding. His name's Jamie. Hi, Jamie.
Oh, this is a great moment. You're discovering a beautiful Warren Zevon song and you're with your future best. Like that's a core memory. That's a core memory.
It was a core memory. And he looks at me and goes, who is this? I'm like, I think it's Warren Zevon. And he's like, do you have this? I'm like, I think I have it. And from that point, we went home, and that 2-CD set was in my car for 5 years. And it's all we ever listened to. And it started with that. Since then, I've got my life together. Everything's good. But at that, that one summer was rough. And I think there's something to be said when you're not doing well in life and maybe things aren't on the up and up. Warren Zevon's a pretty good thing to be listening to because you relate to a lot of that stuff.
Oh,
Happy-go-lucky Adam probably doesn't listen to Warren Zevon very often.
You are, by the way, Don Giller says Dylan, Jack of Hearts, 1974. Not sure what the reference is on that one. I've lost.
I'm not a Dylan guy, which is going to get me persecuted by most music fans.
These are the things that I appreciate about guys like Don Giller, who appreciates Dylan and is willing to kind of talk about why. Like I've sat under his learning tree when it comes to Dylan and the Beatles. That's where having that musical sage again, so important.
I'll tell you why I don't like Dylan, and it's because of that Letterman 10th anniversary special. He performed Like a Rolling Stone, and Paul had an incredible ensemble of guest musicians and backing vocalists, and Bob was horrible. And from that point on, I'm like, ugh, I was done with Bob.
Oh man, you're telling it like it is.
Maybe, but
let's go back to 20. Okay, but hold on. Let's go back to 2015, when Dylan was on second last show. I think it was second last show, right? Very interesting, provocative, behind the scenes story on that one. The way he was shot, including during the guitar solo, the instruction, don't take the camera off me. And then he went and did nothing on camera. But then the same person pointed out, but what was everyone talking about the next day? And it was shot in kind of if my memory serves me correctly, like a sepia tone, kind of it had a different filter or something. And it was I'm curious as to what you thought about that in comparison.
Indifferent.
Because you turned it off that day and that was it. No more Dylan.
Nope. I'm fickle.
Wow.
I'm fickle.
No, man, I think that you 100%, like I talk about this with my wife a lot, a music snob thing. And I'm a music snob, like I totally am, but it's completely up to what my taste is though, and it's so funny how that works. I'm going to try, but toward now and the end of this conversation, I'm going to try and think of somebody that I've kind of turned off.
I can recognize him as an amazing musician and a writer and a poet, and the cultural contribution the man has given.
Yep.
However, my first viewing, my first exposure of him was in the Letterman 10th anniversary special, and it wasn't a good first impression.
Yeah, no.
If Freddie Mercury was there, he would have knocked it out of the park.
That goes without saying. Did their paths ever cross? God, why don't I know?
Zevon and Dylan? Yes.
No, and Freddie Mercury.
No.
Okay.
Okay. They were both signed under like the Elektra Asylum label in the US, but there's no crossover.
Okay, I got you.
But
can I ask one question about that time?
Yeah.
I have a lot of what you've said I've been able to identify with. Some of it I see how you've gone down the rabbit hole in a way that's brought you to where you are. But for me, it was a Werewolves of London thing, kind of being aware of the song. And then were you a Larry Sanders guy?
No, we didn't have HBO growing up. But Warren,
have you watched it since?
Yes. It's amazing. And Warren's appearance is great on it. Yes. It's the John Ritter episode.
Yes. And the irony is Warren Zevon is making fun of the fact that they always want him to sing Werewolves of London. He's fucking bitter about it. He's like, rebelling against it, and then gonna play something else more personal, everything arranged. And then on the air, Sanders says to him, "Hey, will you play Werewolves of London?" And he's like,
he begrudgingly does it.
Here's the ironic part. You are a product of Werewolves of London.
Yes, that's true.
So the irony is astounding. But that was it. That was that for me. I knew him kind of. That's where I kind of branch off. I'm with you right up until I was vaguely aware of him, became more aware of him through Letterman, and then Larry Sanders Show happens.
Yeah.
And for me, that was like, bam, like I loved that episode so much. I loved when Morty was on. And of course, I loved when Letterman was on. To me, they were all the same, and then Doc and all that stuff.
Yes, it all fits.
It all fits so perfectly. And anyway, so that was a huge, for me, Zevon formative moment as well. It made me pay more attention to him when he was on Letterman, really. And then we haven't gotten to hit somebody. You haven't gotten to hit somebody yet in your story, have you?
No. Well,
no. Okay. So, keep going.
I have a lot of good hit somebody stuff to talk about, but so going forward, it's like anytime you discover a new music artist that you love. For me, it's happened with the Killers or Foo Fighters, and
both for me, both of them
with Zevon. And I would just buy one album, loved it. I'd buy the next one, I loved it, and it just went down the line, and I became a Zevon fan. Just like with Queen. And it was a similar situation. I was home from work one day.
Yes.
Had a random Wednesday off.
Yep.
And got pretty good at graphic design and doing the Queen stuff.
Yeah.
I'd been working on there's a box set that came out for Queen called The Miracle, their 1989 album. I wrote.
What was your credit on that?
It was text with the archivist. It's me and Greg Brooks. And then product conceptualization or product design. I designed some of the merchandise that came out to go along with that album. Stuff that was in the box set. I did some of the graphics inside the book as well. So,
okay, can I ask you an inside question, and we can edit out for the show if you need to? You ever got paid for any of this?
No, because I don't officially work for. I work with their archivist.
Yep.
And you don't need to edit this out. It's fine. So what they do, I get credit.
Yep.
If I don't want to do it, I just don't do it anymore.
Right.
But like once every 3 or 4 months, there was like a small like quarter pallet that ends up on my front door filled with
Uh-huh.
Queen stuff. So basically, anything I'm credited on in any country, I get a copy of. And then anything else that comes out, they're happy to send to me. So if you look in my room, it's just filled with posters and records and CDs
One
and
day
I have about
one day you and I are going to do a live, and you're just going to tour us around. No, you're going to get your phone and you're going to tour us around, and we're just going to have that's going to be an entire live episode we do just exclusive, because I adore your organizational skills. I'm blown away. Everything is presented as meticulous as you see to the audience right now. These posters around and these albums up and all that, how meticulously hung that it is. Imagine if filing cabinets were just as interesting, and you open books and different things that you have. We're going to do a tour of that, because it's remarkable.
yeah, my
Are you
wife
ever going to
does
get
too.
to a point where you get paid by Queen or Warren Zevon and could maybe do it as a career, or have a consultant wing to what you're doing? Is that in the cards?
I would love that. The
Yeah.
Queen thing probably isn't going to happen. The Queen organization is a very tight knit group, with the remaining band members, managers. They have a couple music producers. They have the
Yeah.
archivist Greg, who I consider a really close friend now.
So that's a small
And that-
group.
It is, but they're very protective about the catalog, the
Right.
assets they have,
Yeah.
because they own it all. It's not They own everything, and it's licensed out to record companies. And they take a lot of care over how it's stored and presented and used. And they have a legacy there. If they were to sell their catalog, it'll be over $1 billion. They have
Okay.
$1 billion legacy there.
$1 billion catalog. Do they get paid every time a sporting event plays "We Will Rock You" or "We Are the Champions"?
Knowing their management, yes.
Okay.
I would
Okay.
assume so.
$1 billion catalog, 2 iconic sports songs. 3.
I will say,
God, another one bites the dust is as well.
I think their management throughout since the beginning have been very good about taking care of that band and
Yeah.
understanding the value to the physical assets they have, whether
Yeah.
it's tapes or whatever, and then the actual ownership.
Yes.
It's a top-notch organization, the way it's run and the way it's organized and archived. It's
Yes.
incredible. And
Yes.
working with that archivist has helped me with the Zevon stuff. In terms of the Zevon stuff, I have a regular job like everyone else. This is like a super hobby, kind of like what you do.
Yeah. Super hobby. God damn,
Super
I love
hobby.
that. What a great phrase. A super
Now,
hobby. I'm stealing that.
If I were able to make 6 figures doing the Warren Zevon thing, yeah, I would absolutely do that. But
Yes.
the thing is, Warren Zevon is not the Beatles, which is a lot of the issues that we run into. Every
Yep.
product that comes out or anything that's presented, there's a cost and reward to it. And is it financially viable? With the Beatles, you could release now and then on a 7-inch for $20, and you're going to sell the heck out of that thing. With Warren Zevon, there isn't a fan base like that. It's much more condensed. It's smaller, so you don't have as much wiggle room there.
Could Jordan do a modern Warren Zevon tour where Jordan sings Warren Zevon songs?
I brought that up to him. I don't think that's something. Boy,
Or would he do it for a night? Say the Letterman crew got back together for
Sure.
one night only at Radio City.
He has done one-offs before. There's an asbestos, the ADAO, which I don't remember what it stands for off the top of my head. He does charity events for them and performs his dad's songs and his songs. I think the thing is, and I remember I said to him, you could go all around the country and be like the modern day Frank Sinatra Jr. and just make a living off this. And
a modern version of it, but yeah.
I don't think he has an interest in making that his entire life. Oh yeah, the Zevon. How did I get into Zevon? So
yes.
I was off work one day. I'd finally gotten something together that I can say I've done design, I've written, I've been trusted with information, I've been able to collate together, I've been able to write.
Yes.
And I'd say, you know what, I'm going to physically write a letter. So I wrote a letter to Jordan Zevon. I found an address online, which actually ended up being his ex-wife's, which was probably a poor move on my part, but it all worked out.
But it's a great part of the story, my friend.
It's a great part of the story. I printed out some designs I'd done.
Yeah.
One of which was a design for like a Letterman late show kind of compilation. And I mailed it to him. And in the meantime, I posted this stuff online and Jordan saw it, messaged me on Facebook Messenger.
Yeah.
He goes, "You did all this?" I said, "Yeah." Like, I actually sent you a letter today. And he went, you sent me a letter. I'm like, yeah, I wrote a letter and I sent it to you, which is so weird in retrospect.
Nobody had done
But
it.
no one had done it yet. So
That's
he's
me
like,
with
can I
this
call
show.
you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just someone has to do it.
Yeah.
And no one said no yet, so just do it. So he called me and we chatted on the phone for a really long time.
Yep.
It's like our conversation. We never got to the point of why we're talking. We talked about anything but that, which was great. And he's like, I love your ideas with Dad's catalog. I like the designs you have, and I want your help with that. But what I really need help with is Dad's website hasn't been changed since before he died. I need your help. And it blew my mind. He said, would you mind designing it for me?
Independent artist, man. Like,
yeah,
not a label guy.
And that I did get paid a little bit for. So thank you.
Yeah.
But he's like, would you mind doing this? And I said, I would love to do it. But what he didn't know is I could do web design too. And I actually did the coding for the page too, and I just did it. And then one day I said, here, it's done. I sent it to him. And he was very happy with that. You see, there are times in our conversations where I'm talking about Warren Zevon, the product and the brand.
Yes.
And I said, we should do this, and it should be recognized like this.
Yes.
And it very quickly becomes obvious to me that I'm looking at it the wrong way, because he'll say, oh, Dad wouldn't like that. And it's a completely different mindset. It's like, oh, it's not just the guy who works on Warren Zevon stuff. It's his dad.
Yeah.
And there's a respect you have to put towards that. And he saw that I saw it that way. He trusts me with the decisions I make on the website or text or anything I design. So from there, they re-released an album called Life Will Kill You. They wanted Jordan to write like a 2-page thing. And he said, could you help me do this? So I interviewed him, basically helped him put it together as a thing, and it turned out really well.
Yeah.
What I realized when I designed the website, it was great for a desktop or laptop. It wasn't good for a phone, so I designed a separate version for the phone.
Yeah.
And then I scrapped the whole thing and did it all over again so it could work on both. And that's the website that you see today. And
how much of the logo, how much of a part of the logo were you? Did you revise it at all? Did you do anything with the logo? Like, how did
here's the interesting thing about Zevon and his catalog.
Yeah.
It's spread across currently I have notes here just in case I'm cheating. 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 record companies.
Yeah.
And the assets, the original art assets, they're gone. No one knows where this stuff is or if it even exists anymore. So what I've done, I've recreated all the logos from scratch where I can. And there's a future product coming out that we can talk about a little bit, where we can talk about some of that stuff. But
I know I'm excited about that. I want to finish with the current
the sneak peek and
Warren Zevon project. Yeah, because there's some cool stuff. And behind the scenes, I got to tell you, I am telling tale. I'm going to tell a tale out of school. I always say I'm not doing it. I'm going to do it right now. I loved connecting you and Walter Kim. And I'm grateful that there is right now a conduit between Pants and Zevon. That is the way it should be. And I hope that we build that pipeline big. And I want to be part of that too. Again, just so awesome.
Yeah. We'll get to that before we wrap up.
Connection. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, let's, so the logo, the skull logo though, like that, it's gotten more consistent.
So the skull logo, which I think first appeared on the compilation album called A Quiet Normal Life.
Okay.
I think that was a cash-in product to go along with The Color of Money, because Werewolves of London was a part of that movie. And that became Warren's logo. So we have the highest quality version of that. Jordan owns that. We can use that. So that hasn't changed. The version on the website right now is a version I did on my own, just for something different. But like the Warren Zevon text logos and all that stuff, I've been working on recreating all of those from scratch, so we have them in the future for future projects. And to go along with this, Jordan said to me, so we're going to be working on some various things. And, I said, well, I want to be the archivist then. If I want that to be my title. He's like, yeah, you're it. That's what you're doing. And with that title, it's amazing how quickly someone will answer your email, or how willing they are to help. And the great thing is reaching out to all these people. It's a life hack.
What you just said, that's a life hack.
Well, it automatically gives you
a different type of first impression, a different viewpoint, a different perspective. And it's
So
way more open than if you're fanboy.
the current thing we're working on, one of the things, we have 186 of Warren's personal cassette tapes
Yep.
that have all been digitized into 9624.
Okay.
And I'm going through them one by one. I have 114 of them done. And it goes the gamut of anything you could possibly imagine.
Can I interrupt here for a second?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
And as we know, I will anyway. I apologize. You putting up with my enthusiasm is admirable. I know I'm very puppy dog like. But that being said, when you see, I assume you've seen Now and Then, and
Yes.
the technology
Incredible
that was used in a tape much worse than the tapes you're talking about here. I see so much Warren Zevon potential.
Well, here's the thing too.
Okay.
You can use that technology and the amount of money it costs to use that technology for a band like the Beatles. At what point will this technology be accessible to everyone else? Which there are versions of it you can use now which aren't as good, but
absolutely
there needs to be a point where it's cost effective to use it on something for like Warren Zevon or an artist that doesn't have the revenue stream that Warren does.
Yes.
But with these tapes, I did make some notes because I think some of them are interesting.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of home recordings, rehearsals, live audience recordings. There's an answering machine tape from when he lived with Kim Langsford in 1980, which is hilarious. But going through these tapes, they're not meant to be a released product. It's him messing around on a piece of equipment, or it's like an overnight mix or a car mix that trying to listen to a song on the way home from the studio. So there is some decent and really good studio recordings. There is, as of yet, no incredible unreleased song that we haven't heard. They're just different song versions with maybe different lyrics or a guitar solo that isn't there or something like that. But there's a lot of live stuff. And the nice thing is some of them are in really good shape depending on who's working the soundboard that night. A personal story, there was one night I was going through tapes. I had like 4 hours to myself one evening. The kids went to bed. My wife was watching Hallmark Channel. I'm like, I'm going to dive into some Zevon tonight and work on this. And I'm cataloging each tape, what product it's related to, if it's a studio project, every song, the length of every song, and then I kind of rate it if it's good enough to be released or if there's anything of interest that could be used later.
Yes.
So on this particular night, I'm probably a couple hours into it, and it's nothing that's particularly worthwhile. It's a bad rehearsal tape, meaning it's just not of good quality. There's a lot of testing of new synthesizer or keyboard, an answering machine tape. And I live around Penn State University, State College.
Okay.
And this was late January of this year. I come across, it's the last tape I do that night. I'm like, I'm just going to do one more. And each tape is digitized on audio format. Then we have a picture of both sides of the tape and the tape box, so we can kind of keep everything together so we know.
Are they actual DAT tapes?
These are cassettes.
Oh, they're just like a regular cassette that go in a Walkman, not a DAT.
Right. We do have DAT tapes and ADAT tapes. DAT tapes are stereo. ADAT, I think, is 8-track tapes, which we're going through those two, and that'll be part of that project we're going to talk about later.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
Do you have the capability to digitize a DAT tape?
I don't, but we have people that we outsource that are working on that for us now.
Okay, I think I have at my house, my parents' house, in a box somewhere, a DAT of a Nine Inch Nails David Bowie concert all together.
Oh, cool.
Where they played, that's my favorite concert of all time, and it's a DAT of the Seattle show, the show I was at.
Would that be around the time Outside came out for David Bowie?
That's exactly right.
So?
Yes, it was the Outside tour. Now, don't get me wrong. So the way it worked was Trent Prick played, and if you knew Prick, they were on the Nothing label. That's Reznor's label. I love that CD. They never really followed it up, but I just love that CD. They opened the show, but then a full show. Trent comes out, Nine Inch Nails plays an amazing set. There's this kind of weird interlude Trent plays a saxophone, which I think is symbolic of, first off, it's where, it's his high school instrument, but saxophone, it's like Nine Inch Nails taking a step out of the dark towards David Bowie. Then Bowie comes out and plays Scary Monsters with Nine Inch Nails backing it.
Cool.
And it's insanely good. Like insanely good. And then a couple other songs. Not The Heart's Filthy Lesson, though. He saved that for the main act. But then, after 2 or 3 songs with Nin left, Trent stayed on stage, Bowie's band comes out, and they play Hurt together. And this version of Hurt is unbelievable. Trent leaves, Bowie does an entire set. I'm not going to say he didn't play any hits, but they were like, it was all outside, Heart's Filthy Lesson and all that. Great. Did play The Man Who Sold the World, and songs like that, but did not do Let's Dance. And it was it was a theme
he did
show.
Do Young Americans for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. So anyway, that was I have a DAT of that somewhere, and I think it still exists. If I find it, could we do something? Could we get that thing digitized?
It depends on the legalities of that, but I might know a person. Yeah.
All right. This was a beautiful aside. Let's go back to Warren Zevon.
So I'm going through these tapes, and I pick up a tape, or pick up figuratively on the screen, and it says State College, January 27th, 1983.
Yep.
And it's almost 40 years to the day. And I'm like, oh, please be in good quality. And it was. It was so great. And I did a little bit of research. There was a comedy troupe that opened up for Warren Zevon. I found the guys in the comedy troupe and got connected with them. Since we all went to Penn State, we're on college, we're on, in this area.
Isn't it the best? It's like Sherlock Holmes or Nancy Drew. It's so great.
I've done this for each one of these tapes. Any venue he's gone to, I've reached out to the venue or the people there and attempted to get the story or whatever we can find out. You have a mute button. That's good.
Ain't my first rodeo.
Wife's bringing me a water. Thank you. And there's a couple other tapes. He went on tour in late 1990. There was a tour called the Enemy of the People Tour. He had a small backing band with Dan Dugmore, Garth Morlix, and the quality of the shows are fantastic.
Oh my God.
Probably have 5 or 6 shows from this tour. And it's just a soundboard recording. But whoever was working the board that night knew exactly what they were doing. Yeah. And they're so good. So that's something I've been pushing hard on Jordan to look at.
Yes.
Something Letterman related. So Warren appeared on Letterman in 89.
Yep.
3 days later, there was a benefit concert in New York City called Hungerthon 89. It was around the Beacon Theater in New York City. Warren was like the opener, performed 5 songs, and Paul Schaefer joined him on stage for Werewolves of London for the 5th song. And it was broadcast on the radio. And we have a tape of the radio broadcast from that day.
Is this out there for people to see publicly, or okay, we need to make this happen? This is where, yes, the joining of the arms and linking and saying, hey, how about this and how about that? That is an amazing find. Paul Schaefer, Warren Zevon playing at what was it called again?
It was called Hungerthon 89.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about. That's another one of those moments like that Comedy Store moment or the 10th anniversary special. It's an oddball special thing. 5 songs, you said? That's an EP. Any chance? What's the process of getting that released?
So here's the thing. With Warren being signed to multiple record companies throughout his career.
Oh boy. So
of course the record contracts are different for each single one of those companies. So it would all depend on if it was 1989. He would have been under Virgin Records at the time, which is now owned by Universal. They may own any rights to anything that he performed during that time period.
You know who we need for this? We need Jimmy Iovine to come out of retirement.
We do.
And he would figure this shit out. Jimmy Iovine would be able to. Yeah, no kidding, right? Like he would be able to figure that out in a second. I've got a I'll tell you off camera.
So
here's anyway, keep going. Keep going. Yeah.
we have really good contacts with people at Warner. Warner Brothers owns Rhino Records. We have really good contacts with the people that own the last three albums. It's a
Yep.
company called MNRK. They
Yep.
absorbed what was left of Artemis. And there's a company called Ship to Shore, which licenses that music and physically releases it.
Gotcha.
Those Virgin albums, Virgin Records, they're now owned by Universal. I don't have a really good contact with Universal yet. The nice thing is Queen are under Universal, so I'm trying to make those inroads. But historically, Universal hasn't been great about licensing music. So it all comes down to ownerships.
I've got
We
somebody
just
I'm
can't-
going to ask. I've got somebody who's with NBC Universal who
Perfect.
they will give me she's pretty awesome actually. And I think that she would be able to give me some good advice. I'm going to talk to
But-
there's somebody specifically. Anyway, go on.
Here's the other thing to go with it.
Yep.
It's not just what I want. Jordan has to be on board. His sister Ariel, who's a big part of this whole thing, needs to be a part of it too.
Do they
and-
differ on opinions, or are they pretty much united for the most part?
Since Jordan is the first person I reached out to,
Yeah.
I mean, I consider Jordan and I close friends. We
Yep.
text and call, and Ariel I don't know as well.
Gotcha.
Every interaction I've had with her has been positive, and she's been friendly and helpful and excited and game for whatever we're working on, and brings her own opinions to the table. So it's not like anyone's holding anything up here. But of course, it's brother sister, so of course they're going to be different on things, right?
Yeah.
But we're also looking at a thing where you have a man's body of work who's no longer with us, so he doesn't have a say anymore.
Mhm.
So then you get that thing of, well, would he be okay with this? And you also want to be careful not to dilute the catalog.
Yes.
And it really gets tricky because you can really oversaturate things and make a catalog confusing. I think the Who have done this. I think Bowie has done this. Since Bowie has passed away, there's been so much Bowie archival product released.
Yeah.
And some of it's good, some of it's superfluous, some of it's money grab stuff like
Yeah.
picture disc vinyl records.
Yep.
So I think there has to be merit to what's released. I think Bob Dylan's done a good job with his catalog where you have main albums, but you also have this bootleg series, which is kind of tangential.
It's top shelf in the way that it is, because there is stuff for every level of fan, including, like you say, I never, when I went to Vancouver, I would go to Vancouver to look for bootlegs. And I remember going into Boom CDs on West 4th, and I said to the guy, I said, "Hey, do you have any bootlegs?" Guy goes, he kind of felt me out a little bit, and he's like, "What bands?" I'm like, Faith No More, Soundgarden, or Nirvana, Nine Inch Nails. Oh, Nine Inch Nails, big one. He's like, "Okay." He goes, "I'm gonna hook you up." He goes, "But don't come in asking about bootlegs. Come in and ask if we have any live recordings." And he didn't say pro tip, but if pro tip would have been available as a phrase back then vernacularly, he would have said pro tip, buddy. But I was 18, 19, young, and that started me on the trail of searching for bootlegs of my favorite bands and live recordings. Dylan satisfies that crowd all the way up to the very surface without any, I don't think any selling out whatsoever. He's kind of the other end of the spectrum where he probably could have done more and been more profound. I don't know. Was that?
I think it's, we don't want to give the perception that we're barrel scraping.
Not even a little bit. Oh my God. Yeah.
So I think that's a big concern because it needs to be done well, it needs to be done correctly, it needs to be done right. And I'm not one of the decision makers. I have an opinion and I can, bring things forward, but it's really up to Ariel and Jordan because it's their dad's legacy. And it could be a thing that Jordan could say, I know my dad wouldn't like that. And that's the end of it. And you have to respect that. He did listen to those tapes. He did like that, the 1990 concerts that I'm talking about, but it all depends. It all depends who has the ownership and everything. So
what if Worldwide Pants put it out? What if Worldwide Pants put it out on some sort of a something? I'm just throwing this out there, like, or someone like World, do you think that there's room to put something like that out?
Sure. It depends who owns the rights to that music.
Yeah.
If they want to license it.
If it could be, Jivvy Ivied to the point where an agreement can be made.
Sure.
And yeah.
But again, if you're a big record company, if you're Universal Records,
yes,
and you have Queen and the Beatles and Elton John or whoever else they have under the catalog,
yes,
it's difficult for Warren Zevon to be a focus in comparison to other artists because of the commercial viability of it. The one nice thing, there are recordings that are available. I think it's archive.org that have been allowed by Jordan and Ariel, live concerts of their father.
Good to
That's
know.
free for everyone to download. A lot of them are soundboard recordings. A lot of them are radio broadcasts. So if you're looking for something that kind of scratches that itch pretty well.
Question,
But we would like to get something more official out.
Sure.
Yeah.
Why not take those and bare minimum put them out on Apple Music?
Because they're already free. And it'll be cashing in on something that's already been released free to everyone.
No, I don't know. I think part of it also is like, hey, this is a nice part of our catalog too, no matter what the pay structure looks like. Having that included, if I'm a fan, like I'm a huge Chris Cornell fan, when that last that came out, which all that studio stuff with Chris, like, I mean, man, that is a really nice thing to do on the Apple. And then again, I just bigger platform, right?
I think there's a perception of money grabbing that, we made this available for free for people, and now we're going to charge. And the stuff that's on that site was given away for free in good faith for fans that want to hear it.
Yeah.
So I think the idea is, I think both, and again, I don't want to speak for them, but I think they want to be careful with the fan base and not just release a bunch of superfluous product to try to cash in.
Yes. Very well said. And I'm a bit more of a, well, you might be able to turn the notch a couple of turns
right.
and things still be good. But I hear you.
As a consumer, it's what I would want too.
Okay, there we go. There we go. You'd be giving the fans what they want in a big way, and I think there's a consideration for that. Speaking of which, you see Dave giving away the marquee?
I did see that. Or how many is it? Is it bidding on? Is like a
it's
a draw,
raffle.
Like a raffle?
Yeah, no, you know what?
How many do you have in?
Yeah, so for me, I brought it up and looked at the options, and for $50 United States money, which is like 1,429 Canadian dollars, it's not that bad, but it's pretty bad. $50
You're not trying
US.
to fundraise. We're not fundraising for you, are we? This isn't a
no.
Okay, good.
Well, I'll tell you though, I have had two people say to me that they entered, and if they win, they're donating it and going to have Dave, because Dave's going to pay the shipping, going to send it to the Letterman podcast, but they want the trip to New York though. And so I'll take that.
You get to meet Dave, right?
What's that?
You get to meet Dave and hang out with Dave.
You get to meet Dave, be on the Barbara Gaines show. And I'm not going to tell, actually, you know what? Tonight's the night. Well, I will tell some tales out of school. Barbara Gaines has thus refused my advances. There was one time where she might have considered it, but she might have also been toying with me. Morty did this to me. He played with me like I was a little bit of a rubber ball. And I can't tell if Barbara's doing that. What I do know is I misspelled her name, or I misspelled her last name. I forgot the E. And it eats
What kind of fan are you?
It's eating my soul. I am pretty sure it was an autocorrect, but regardless, I should have proofread. So now I feel this is good. I feel like this is therapy, buddy. Thank you for this.
I would love to win it and put it back here, and I'd make you look at it every single day just to know that you didn't have it.
It's 8 feet by 20 feet. Like it will not.
It might go in the garage then.
That's where mine's going, and I've got it. I've got it all figured out already. There's no way I'm going to win. Jimmy Kimmel's probably put in thousands of dollars under 40 different emails so we can get past the 5,000 votes or 5,000 entries. So yeah, $50 got me 600 entries. And I said to myself, and then there's a way you could do it for free. So I did one for free. You can put in a free one. And so I did that. And if the universe is meant to make it happen, it's going to make it happen either by winning it. And then ironically, I would be on the Barbara Gaines show. So she refused me, but then I kind of snuck in the back door. So I think that would be kind of fun.
I hope she says your name wrong.
Oh, well, okay. So my only credit, because I wanted to mention this earlier, but I was so taken. Like, I just love your story so much, and I'm so excited to be your buddy. And we're gonna do some cool stuff here together. I just feel it.
It sounds like I don't have a choice anymore.
Oh man, as far as I'm concerned, you don't. As far as I'm concerned, no.
I'm good with that.
Yeah. But anyway, it would be funny to snake my way into her show. and to meet Dave that way.
Comeuppance. That'll be good.
We had a couple nice moments at Rupert's retirement. And I mean, how crazy again,
Saw
how
the
crazy.
pictures in the video. They look lovely. It's
And
really
the
nice that the current Late Show folks did something for it too. I thought that was nice.
I have messaged I've messaged her and we've talked about that to Tanya. And Tanya, I forget which one it is. I feel embarrassed about that, but anyway,
Between
yeah.
that and not spelling Barb's last name right, you're in trouble.
See,
This is why you don't
at very
stream live.
worst,
You need
at
an
very
editor.
worst, dyslexic perhaps a little bit or something. Don Giller said that he's looking for your script, but it's not where he thought it was, so it'll be more investigation. Don Giller is here. Oh my God. Oh, this is my favorite podcast ever. He's coming in, man.
Is he? Oh, there he is.
Outstanding.
Welcome to a special 3-hour edition of the Letterman Podcast.
Oh my God. Hey, buddy.
where we talk about Letterman a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. I spent the last 2 hours looking for this thing and I can't find it.
Oh,
I
no,
know I
feel
have
bad.
it. I just can't find it.
Have you heard any of what we've been talking about Warren, that Warren Zevon set? How cool does that sound, Don? Is that what you
Well,
whistled?
the fact that this guy, what's his name?
This Adam guy?
Adam.
I'm Adam.
Right.
Hi, Don.
Yeah.
But he's
My
not a
last
Dylan
name is
fan.
Gaines, spelled with an E.
That's Oh, I feel great shame. I need to go in the penalty box right now. I feel great shame.
Jack of Hearts was a tale that Dylan composed for his Blood on the Tracks album, because you were talking about what's the Warren song?
Werewolves of London.
No.
The song that
Roland the Hellas Thompson Gunner?
Yeah, that's it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Jack of Hearts came to mind because and that was, when was Roland written, or when was it
78 on the Excitable Boy album.
okay, so that's 4 years after Jack of Hearts. So that proves there's an influence.
There is an influence.
It,
And
it,
Dylan
We've
did
done some good today.
it proves nothing. Okay.
I mean, Dylan did appear on a Zevon album too, so there's mutual respect there, I think.
Yeah. Would it be safe to say like Zevon's kind of I was going to say the next generation, but an evolution maybe?
I think it's tangential. It's a storyteller, but I think there's a little bit more of a rock folk thing there.
Yeah.
Slightly more demented.
Yeah. Yeah, the humor for
but
sure.
There's a ton of respect there. Dylan did perform on the Sentimental Hygiene album in '87. I think Warren actually talks about it during his one performance on Letterman around that time.
Yep.
So Dylan performed harmonica on The Factory, which is on that album.
Right.
And of course, Dylan famously performed Mutineer and a few songs of Warren's when he announced he was sick. So I think there's a lot of mutual respect there. Which I think if you have the respect of Bob Dylan, that says a lot.
I'm looking for details on Dylan's Like a Rolling Stone performance on the 10th anniversary.
It's on the 10th anniversary. Yep.
Don, is that something that you're known about? Like, is that something that there's a reputation for that Dylan kind of maybe didn't meet expectations on that performance, or is that something that?
Let's say yes.
Okay.
He's not known as being a great live artist. It's kind of one of those situations you don't know what you're going to get. He's either going to be amazing or horrendous.
I remember back in the day he performed.
I don't know if I'm speaking out of turn, Don, but that's how I kind of took it.
It's okay. You're young.
I don't know any better.
Every time Dylan did something, when I was growing up, there was a period of time that every time Dylan performed something live, inevitably the next week there would be a sketch on Saturday Night Live, with Dana Carvey playing a crazy Bob Dylan that everyone could imitate.
Yeah.
And I mean, that says something too. And don't get me wrong, I loved Carcinio. I thought Carcinio was
amazing.
Genius. Oh my God, Dana Carvey rules. But yeah, like I remember he did a bit on Weekend Update where he was just doing a deal and it was like he sounded almost like Adam Sandler. But anyway,
Speaking of anniversary specials, Warren
yes.
did perform on one of the anniversary specials. He was on the 6th anniversary.
It was on his
special.
birthday.
It was on his birthday. That's right. And here's the interesting thing about it. Part of the band was Carole King and Billy Joel, Warren Zevon. Billy Joel and Carole King were on synths, and they put Warren on grand piano. So that's how much Paul and Dave thought of Warren Zevon. When you throw Billy Joel on a synthesizer, and you have Warren playing grand piano.
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
Yep.
I'm sure Don has that somewhere on his YouTube. I think I've seen it before.
Yeah, no, I've got the
You got all the anniversary specials on your channel, don't you, Don?
saxophone. I'm sorry.
You have all the anniversary specials on your YouTube, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many anniversary
David
specials
Sanborn.
did they do?
10, I think.
I mean, did they do a first and second and third and fourth? Was it a yearly tradition?
They did 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, not 91, and not 93.
So 92 was their last year. Carson's last year. That's interesting.
David Sanborn, Carole King, Billy Joel, Freddie Hubbard, John Faddis, Clarence Clemens, Tom Scott, Robert Craig, Joe Walsh, Dwayne Eddy, Ashford and Simpson, Roberta Flack, Cyndi Lauper.
That's right.
And Benny King. They were all the backup band.
There's our homework. What year was that, Don?
Don't ask me those. That was 88.
Okay, our homework is to go watch the 88 anniversary special.
I uploaded 2 versions. It's on the same upload. The afternoon show and the evening show.
This could be
the broadcast then sort of combined. They did mostly the evening show, but there are elements of the afternoon show.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It's no, this isn't going to bore anybody. So
no, it's not. Have you not watched?
I talked about Queen for half an hour, so go ahead.
Yeah, you're talking about Queen, one of my favorite bands. When E aired late night in syndication from late 93 to mid 96.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And on the July 4th shows, they did a marathon. They aired all but one of the anniversary shows. They didn't air the 1984 anniversary show, but this 88 anniversary show did not have Bill Wendell's opening announce. And I figured, that they must have gotten this from NBC. And it turns out, or what I believe to be the case, is that that's the only version NBC has. All they have is the afternoon show before Bill's announce. They don't have the evening show most of which from the evening show aired on broadcast television.
Wow.
Yeah, this is fascinating.
It is to me.
Oh, I love my new show like this. This is great.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And for the 5 other people that care, it's great.
Yeah.
Well, I think 2 have already died. So I'm looking for if I can find anything on the Like a Rolling Stone performance, and I'm not sure. Oh, wait a minute. Well, yeah, if I find something, I'll butt in.
All right.
So nothing's coming up. I remember, did he flub a verse?
I couldn't tell. I couldn't understand what he was singing, Don.
Yeah, I don't remember, but there was some scuttlebutt about it.
Hey, Don, do you like the idea of some sort of a reunion, whatever, and a performance where Jordan Zevon plays Hit Somebody with Dave sitting there and just saying his line every once in a while? Hit somebody.
Yeah, no, I agree with Adam. It's not going to happen. All
right. Well,
and I think you did mention it, but I was for some reason I didn't catch the whole exchange.
I gotcha. Anyway, I just think
when Warren did perform Hit Somebody, it was Paul who did the.
Yeah, Paul did it. That's right.
Absolutely.
But I think if you already said that, sorry.
No, we didn't. I'm glad you made the distinction, because I think, Adam, you and I talked about that originally when we talked on the phone about that moment. I think you mentioned that, and I hadn't been aware of that. And
no, Dave's not going to do it.
It's from show.
Dave, you're going to do it.
It's from show 1581, April 2nd, 2001. For anyone out there who cares. All that information came from Don, so thank you, Don.
Yeah, I don't remember. It's Adam, right?
That's right.
Yeah, man. I
Yeah.
I had a really, really good podcast today. Did you see the video I put up, Dawn, of the deleted scenes from it?
No, I've been having a life.
Yeah, no, I know.
Oh, I thought you were talking about this podcast that we're doing now.
No, today, earlier. Like this
Oh.
podcast is incredible.
See, Adam, what Mike's doing live, all we see is his face.
I tried to turn it so you could see everything else.
I
and it
saw,
didn't
but then
work.
then I got really dizzy.
Exactly, it didn't work. So
Yeah,
that's,
vertigo
but that's what the live audience is going to get. They get to hear a sneak peek, but they don't get a chance to see it. Oh my God. Today we did show and tell with that Dan Flaherty, the cameraman.
Oh,
And he's got like 8 jackets behind him as a backdrop because he's a cameraman, right? So he's well lit. He's got it like set up. It's dialed in. And behind him is a coat rack with like 8 of the jackets. And then he's got credentials. He's got all these things. And at the very end, one t-shirt, and it's like stabbing me in the heart. It's the Foo Fighters t-shirt. Like that's like my most wanted Letterman collectible. Other than the marquee, of course.
SCTV.
He was great at SCTV.
Yeah.
What's the Foo Fighters shirt?
Flattery, right?
You don't know the Foo Fighters shirt? The night. Okay, so there's a yellow. Dawn has one. It was the Foo Fighters showed up on the very last show, and they brought a gig shirt, and the gig shirt was a special one-off. It's a yellow shirt with blue writing on it. It's all the boxes, and there's Don.
Don has it.
He does. It's like oh my God, this is something that is so cool.
You got to slip a quarter in the thing.
And this was Steve Young's, right?
Yeah.
So that makes it even like triple cool. Okay, so there's the Foo Fighters shirt. And what do they call it, Dave?
That?
Roy Letterman. And there's the rest of the band. And then if he flips it around, it's all of the Foo Fighters performances like it's a tour, but those are all
the performances on Late Show.
Yeah,
that's brilliant.
Yeah, and I want it so bad it's not even funny. Like I love this shirt. This is probably my favorite t-shirt. This is the 21-year staff shirt. I love it. That Foo Fighters shirt is like, and so he's got it hanging there. I'm like, hey Dan, if ever you need a home for that thing, I just was all drooly.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, isn't that great? There's one of Rupert's original hats.
Hey, whose podcast is this anyway?
Hey, by the way, Will Lee trying to set me up with Darlene Love. And speaking of Darlene Love, here's some snow that fell down from the rafters or some really badly cut cocaine. I'm not sure which, from the last Christmas show in 2015. So, and then Darlene Love and I hopefully going to be connecting this week.
Everyone go to Don's YouTube and watch all the Darlene Love performances. They're fantastic.
Absolutely. And they do a supercut, which is kind of cool. Now here's the thing.
Well, that's on the official page, right? We don't go to that one, right?
Yeah. Well, no, we like them too. It all goes to the same place now.
That Warren Zevon collection that I put up, I had originally included Strawberry Beret.
Oh yeah, but it's a Prince song, so
yeah, the Prince song
licensing.
But that fall of 19, I had it up for some time, and in the fall of 19. Years earlier, I also put up both of Prince's Late Show performances, and UMG struck them down.
Yeah, Prince's music. Hardcore.
There they are again.
Yeah.
Wait a second. Hold on. There's a version of Warren Zevon doing Raspberry Beret by Prince.
Yeah, on Late Night in '87, I think.
Is it online right now? Can I go see that?
It's not on my channel. I used to be. So I got cold. So I got cold feet and clipped it out and put up a new collection without that performance, which right. So I was just like, I just got scared because one more strike. Actually, I had lost that's a long story.
Hey Don, do you still have a copy of the original version that you could send me?
There's a studio version,
You get
there's a what? There's a studio version? That's on his cover album?
So no. When Warren recorded Sentimental Hygiene in 86 and 87, it came out in 87, his backing band was REM, minus Michael Stipe. Michael did like backing vocals for a song.
Whoa.
So that album is basically REM with Warren Zevon. They also recorded a ton of like old cover songs, blues songs like Junko Partner and Manish Boy and things like that.
Yeah.
And one of the songs that was covered is Raspberry Beret. And when Warren was sniffing around for a new record company and went to Giant Records, or Giant, I think he was already with Giant Records, but they heard of this and they're like, anything REM, God, can we sell it, please? Because REM was becoming one of the biggest bands in the world at the time.
Yeah.
So there's an album called Hindu Love Gods. It's Warren Zevon and 3/4 of REM, and Raspberry Beret is one of the songs. It's from 1990, and I think hopefully we'll have that re-released on vinyl sometime soon.
Wow.
That's been in the talks, so we'll see if that happens.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's great. I think it also appears on one of the compilation albums. It might be on Genius, I forget. But anyway,
Yeah,
it's
I'm
out there.
mistaken.
It's
It's November 28th, 1990 is when he performed it on Dave.
Wow.
Let's see if I can punch it up. Let's see if I can break my contract.
It's not your channel, so it's okay. You're just
I'm going to get blacklisted.
You're just a citizen.
I'm never going to be able to do anything again. Thank you both.
Don pointed out that if I were a member of the Pants family, officially at this point, I would be ineligible for the marquee. So that's now the master plan. Win the marquee, go on Barbagain show, meet Dave, and then I become an employee. But they still send me the marquee. So that's the plan now, boys. So we can manifest that actively.
Give me 1 second.
Okay. You get Don, you're gonna love the podcast with Dan Flaherty. Holy cow.
I liked him in SCTV.
Yeah, I get the joke now.
Yeah, there you go.
I was actually gonna look to see if it spells it the same way as Joe Flaherty, but I didn't get a chance to. I think it is.
No, I don't think it is.
Oh, it
Out of
isn't.
glare. There's the album.
Here we go.
Hindu Love Gods. Oh, glare. Yikes.
There it is. No. I see it.
So, yep, it's of course available for streaming as well. But
oh, there, and Don's showing us that the Raspberry Beret performance is available somewhere. Oh, hey, look, there's us.
wow,
That's
trippy.
cool. That is very trippy.
You
know what the 10 is? He's working on the compilation. Look at this. Oh,
there it is.
look at that
It's a
handsome
great
devil.
version too.
Wait, you're gonna love that podcast with him. It's I
So
highly
is
recommend
Adam
it.
number 96?
At this point here, no, 96 just came out, didn't it? Wasn't that Tim Kennedy?
No, I think Tim's 94. You don't even know, do you?
I thought it was not. I thought it. No.
This is episode 100. Congratulations,
Oh
everyone.
God! Surprise!
We've done it.
Surprise! Janice Panino is ready to come out.
Is she
This
ever?
one. What's that?
Oh yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Tim is 96.
Yeah. So this is probably going to be 97. She's going to probably be 98. And if I get Darlene Love and Marilyn,
What about Daniel Flattery?
well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not sure when.
Oh, he might be like 101. He's the big get you've been teasing.
Well, and the cool thing is the video that I showed will whet the appetite for it. And if I don't release it for a month because of holidays and because of, if Darlene Love comes on, and the compilation, of course, right? Like I'll time it. There's a chance the first compilation comes out on Christmas Eve. That's pretty cool. Because if that was the case,
no compilation.
Okay. Because the week before I would air Darlene and people could enjoy it for all of the kind of build up to Christmas, and then the compilation comes out on the 24th.
But if you don't get Darlene, then you'll stick Daniel in there.
I have the option to do that, yeah, and I might have Pat Farmer before then as well. And if I have Pat Farmer, then he might be the first episode after, depending on how many the compilations are. That's a good one.
Can I mention the guy that you're trying to get and you contacted, or is that off limits?
You can mention it, absolutely.
Gary.
I thought you were going to say the other one. Gary Muledeer is coming on the show. We've just got to figure out. He and I are going to do a phone call. I'm not telling tales out of school. His documentary talks about this. He's fighting prostate cancer right now, and he went for a scan today. Otherwise, we were going to be talking on the phone about when we're going to get him on there. He is technologically challenged and funny as, oh my God, Gary Muledeer is so funny. His documentary, you got to watch it. It's incredible. Dave's in it, but watch it outside of that. Doesn't matter. It's so good. And Gary is amazing. He's going to be coming on the Letterman podcast, but he is technologically challenged. So he's going to get it done at the Grand Ole Opry because they help him out with stuff like that. Because he's a Hall of Fame Grand Ole Opry guy that a lot of people don't know. So when he does the episode of the Letterman podcast, that's where he's going to be on location from. And I want to figure out how to do text on screen so I can put on location from, anyway, doesn't matter.
And again, you can always ask Al Ches to help you out.
I'm always open to Mr. Ches. Al Ches, if you want to help us out, you go ahead. He has been, oddly enough, well, David Letterman and Merrill Markoe, probably the most elusive. The second most elusive would be Al Ches. He keeps saying he's going to do it, and then he doesn't do it. And he keeps saying he's going to do it, and he doesn't do it. So,
Bill
one day
Sheff,
we'll get him on here.
There's Bill Sheff, Jordan Zevon. They won't show up.
Jordan's coming.
Speaking of Merrill
Jordan.
Markoe.
Yeah. Well, I've
Jordan
tried.
Almost did a podcast with Merrill Markoe. That's something we tried to do a couple years ago.
Have you seen Merrill's pictures of her and Warren putt-putting?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Do you know when? Do you have a date for that?
I'm going to say roughly 93 or 94. I'm sure I'm wrong. I'll find out though.
You're the Warren
probably
guy.
around there.
You have to know this stuff.
Yeah.
Rob Stover just said, "You're getting Gary Muledeer. That man is a gem. He sure is, buddy." Yeah, pretty excited. And hi to Rob Stover, another former guest of the Letterman podcast.
And I'm in the credits too.
Yeah, you certainly are. And
right
I got to tell you,
right below Chris Elliott. That's the fun part.
And I got to tell you, well, that's fantastic. Absolutely. The footage you either gave them or the footage they found, they used a significant filter to make it HD or at least to raise the quality of it. And I have never seen late night footage that looked so good. And also early Letterman, the one about the diametrically opposed to lawn ornaments, that one, beautiful. It looks high definition.
Yeah, but I'm sure they got that from NBC because they would not have put up stuff I sent them.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. There's some, if it is, there's some incredible cleaning softwares.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, it was cool seeing your name on it. It's so good. And Gary's amazing. And if you remember the guy who shot, I think there's a lot of folks in the Letterman world who'd be like, okay, but remember the comic who came on who shot arrows from his guitar strings? Oh, that guy, there's a lot of that out there for him. And which is one of the reasons that the doc is so compelling. It's really good.
So Adam, what are you going to do with all these cassettes? I remember I heard you all talking about it, but at this stage you're simply just storing it.
Right now it's figuring out what's on the cassettes.
Yeah.
As I stated, I've about 112 or so that I've listened to, and there's another 70 or so to go. To Mike's point, we have ADATs and DAT tapes we're listening to now. And the idea is it could be used for something in the future, whether it be an expanded version of one of the albums or maybe a standalone live release. We're not looking at doing like another unreleased or alternative version album. That's kind of already been done with the album called Preludes. That was done in 2007. So it's just kind of taking stock of what we have and what value that has. So we're kind of discovering that as we go along. And the idea is we find something that's worthwhile.
And you will. I mean, I have no doubt you're going to find some gems.
Yep. We have already. I have already.
How are you digitizing them?
So an outside company was hired to a professional company to digitize them in 9624 quality. So they're audio files currently.
So you don't know how they're doing it, just that you, Pat.
I don't. I'm not an audio engineer.
Can I ask you a question? Would that be like a CD quality, like a FLAC file? Would it be that good a quality?
Yeah. 9624 would be Blu-ray or DVD quality.
God damn, that sounds
CD
appealing.
is 44.1. So this will be over double that. This will be 96.
But the cassettes themselves, they're like what, at 1 7/8
Yeah,
IPS
standard cassette.
or 15
And
16. Yeah.
yeah, that's right. And again, some of them are soundboards, some of them are mix downs. Some of them are actually used for 4-track recording, which you can do with a cassette, which I don't recommend. It doesn't sound great, but I think just for demo purposes.
Oh,
So
sure. Yeah.
we've been working on mixing those down and seeing if there's anything worthwhile too.
No, my buddy Tad and I, we would record stuff on a 4-track cassette machine.
Mm-hmm.
That went
Yeah.
at the incredible speed of 3/4.
Yeah,
So
sound
that's your
quality isn't
secret.
amazing, but for demoing purposes, it's fine.
What was I going to ask? I was going to say something. Damn. It won't come to me again because I'm old.
It's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really high quality. Like so with a soundboard, would it vary from soundboard to soundboard, or would the audience ever be a part of it at all? Or is it just the soundboard? You're only getting what went through the mics and the monitors, and you're getting very little crowd, or is it a little bit of both?
I'd say probably very little crowd because the crowd wasn't mic'd.
Yeah,
it'll just be direct instruments. You can hear a crowd. I think the one thing that the two current Warren Zevon live albums that are out now, there's one from 1980 called "Stand in the Fire," and there's one from
which was
93.
impossible to find back then.
It was,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think it was released on CD in 2007, 2008. It's fantastic. Then there's like an acoustic solo album called "Learning to Flinch" from '93. The one thing both those albums are missing are Warren's interactions with the audience and him talking with the audience, and he's funny and charming, and you kind of miss some of that on those albums. And I think that's one of the advantages to what we have on these tapes. It'll be nice to get some of that out because there's some really fun interactions with the crowd and get that live setting, and you can hear the crowd react to it.
Are there any reel-to-reels?
Not that I have. I'll say this: I know that Jordan has storage spaces with an ungodly amount of stuff, and it could be a mixture of reel-to-reel and cassettes and CDs. There's acetates. Yes, Mike.
Are there any Warren Zevon tour T-shirts?
So at the time, yes. And one of the things I was going to talk about today is we are working on getting an official web store open for the website.
Excellent.
And we want to get T-shirts and turntable mats and buttons, and posters. And I won't say we're in the beginning stages of doing that. We're past that. We think we have the guy, we have the company. We think we're going to see that in the next few months. And it would be nice to be able to replicate those things. And like the Foo Fighters shirt, it'll be nice to replicate those and get them re-released in some format.
Yeah, I hear you, but I'm telling you this: your buddy Don and your buddy Mike would love if you come across one in one of these storage facilities. You come across a couple of larges, we'll take them off your hands. How cool would it be? How cool would it be to have a vintage tour Warren Zevon shirt? That is like, that's deep.
That would be awesome.
That's lore.
From someone who hates Dylan, forget it. I don't want it. I remember what I was going to ask you.
Yes.
You were talking about you don't even know if the master tapes even exist anymore.
So
do you know, or do you not know if any of them might have been stored in that giant facility that burned down?
Oh, the fire.
Oh, God.
Right. And that was quite a few years ago, 10 years ago or so now. I don't believe any of them were stored there. I think for the Asylum albums, I think Rhino and Warner has all of those albums properly stored. I know for a fact they have the stereo masters because one was just used for an Excitable Boy release this year. Mobile Fidelity Sound Labs did a Super Audio CD and a 2 LP version of that album. So the Warner stuff is in good shape. Universal, I have no clue.
You're freezing.
Well, can you
I hear it. I hear it all. It's all coming through on this end.
Okay.
Right.
The Artemis albums, which is what we're going to talk about for our project coming out, that got really tricky. Artemis did the last three albums, so that's Life Will Kill Ya, My Ride's Here, and The Wind. And when Artemis dissolved, a lot of that stuff disappeared. So multi-tracks gone, masters gone, the artwork gone. The nice thing is, for some of this, we have a happy ending to it, which we'll talk about this product that's going to be coming out, hopefully. But we don't know what happened to it. And we think it was either liquidated, someone took it home with them, or it was destroyed. And we're all kind of leaning towards that it was probably destroyed.
I have another question.
Insane. Yes.
Would you guys be open to the idea of Pants doing a documentary on Warren Zevon?
That's not for me to decide. I will say that there is work on a documentary taking place now.
Awesome.
It's something I can't talk about a whole lot, and the only reason I will mention it is because Jordan mentioned it in an interview earlier this year.
Okay. Here's again, we're doing this is, it's an excuse to hang out. That's all this is, an excuse to hang out, but it is prep for Jordan. Can I ask that question?
Yeah, absolutely. Because he brought it up before in an interview. So sure.
Perfect. Okay, perfect. Because I want to talk about that if possible, if we can.
The VH1 profile on Warren.
Yep. That's on YouTube, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I've seen that. That's very good.
Is there other footage that you have of that? Or that's available if you don't have it?
The only thing that I'm aware of is available. So there's a bonus section on that DVD where they do the full extended interview with Warren from his apartment. Anything else? Footage? Yeah, it is raw footage of his interview. And some of it, I don't think there's even video to it. I think it's just raw audio. So that's all I'm aware of that still exists. I think that was all helmed by the folks at VH1. So I think all the ownership for all that stuff falls on them. So anything that's available, they would still have.
They did some good stuff back in the 90s and whatnot when they were kind of, I don't know if they were a rival to MTV or whatever, but pop-up video is it real? Yeah. So there you go.
Is it all Viacom, Don? I think it was Viacom.
VH1 is Viacom, I believe.
Tell me, what's the address of those storage places?
Classified. Classified.
I want that signed on.
I can't. I'm not allowed to even be in it, participate in it.
I know you're not. That leaves it for me free and clear. Oh God, I want it so bad. It'll only fit in one spot in my garage, and it'll take up an entire wall. Like I'll literally be parking my vehicle beside it.
The car will be outside.
I'm gonna put the Bronco will fit in, but I mean I'll have to drive it out. But it is a gigantic sign. It would be behind. I could shoot videos up against it, and it would be so funny. So anyway,
you're not even going to find a truck that could handle it.
Dave's taking care of that. Dave gets it to you. He says it in the video. So
but under his breath he says all expenses accepted.
That's right. In other words, the rest goes to Habitat, but the expenses come out first, and it's smart. It's anyway, I want that thing. All right. I don't know. We done? Is there any? No, we got more. We need the more, Adam. Let's bring it up. Let's talk about one of the reasons that we're here.
Well, we're working on a new project. The project name for it is Epilog. That's potentially the name for this box set. I think that's what we're going to go with.
Yes.
It's going to be a collection of the last three albums, which I just mentioned earlier. Life Will Kill Ya from 2000. My Ride's Here from 2002. And the final album, The Wind, from 2003. We're going to have some bonus material on there, depending on what we find. So far, we've found some good stuff from aforementioned DAT tapes and ADAT tapes and some other sources. We're hoping to get some live material on there. And thanks to the podcast host that we're talking to, we made some inroads with Worldwide Pants. And we're hoping to include some audio from Warren's final performance on Letterman, hopefully all three tracks. Again, the lawyers are dealing with this now, so the lawyers everything's in motion. But the good thing, everyone,
when you need them.
That's right. But the good thing is everyone has been keen and helpful, and we're trying to get this worked out. Because again, those albums were on Artemis. The ownership for that went to a company called Entertainment One, and then it went to a company now called MNRK, which is stylized for Monarch. And then we have another company called Ship from Store that actually physically releases them. So we're working through the logistics of that. In addition, Warren performed in this time period 2 other songs on The Late Show. He did Porcelain Monkey and the hockey song Hit Somebody, which again, Paul does the Hit Somebody part. And Warren's son Jordan performs on stage with him too for that song in the background.
I want that driving to the gym tomorrow in my Bronco. That is such a I want.
And then
that.
in addition, Worldwide Pants also owns the rights to the Late Late Show with Craig Kilborn. Warren performed on that show twice in this time period. He did what songs? McGillicuddy's Reeks and I Was in the House When the House Burned Down. And we'd really like to get those too. So we don't know how that's all going to work out. We don't know if we can get all the songs, but we definitely like to have that last performance be a part of this set if possible. We're hoping to find in our own collection some live shows from that period, and we have a couple studio outtakes. To go with that, as I said, we've had issues having access to masters. So for Life Will Kill You, the best thing we have right now is the master that's used to produce the CD. I think that master is slightly above CD quality. So there's not much we can do with that. We do have a crew of folks. We do still have the audio files in some archaic form of I just lost my train of thought. What's the audio program? Pro Tools.
Okay.
So we have that converted from the sessions, and you're going to be getting hopefully a new remaster of My Rides Here, and we just remastered The Wind for vinyl. So all those will be available CD with bonus tracks. And I'm currently designing a nice deluxe book to hopefully go along with it. That's going to
the
be
mock-ups you've shown me are amazing.
What's the any release date?
No, we're still working on it.
Is that and you that's what I was looking for, the script for the October 30 show.
Yes. So the idea is we'd like to do a deluxe box set like the Who or the Rolling Stones or Queen or the Beatles do. You get your book, your 80-page book or however it happens to be, your CDs, and then some memorabilia, some posters from the time or tickets. And what I asked Don for was the script for Warren's appearance on the Late Show for his final appearance. It'll be nice to have a facsimile of that.
I know I have it. I've got 3 boxes that I was looking through while you were all gabbing, and it wasn't there, but I know I have it.
And the nice thing is, Mike put me in touch with Walter Kim, who's helping us out with this, and
don't know the name.
Don't know Walter. Yeah, he seemed like a jerk. Really, no. Walter was a real good guy. He's helping us out, and the nice thing is everyone wants this to happen, and we're working towards making it happen. We don't have a release date because we're still working on it, but we have a good bit of work done, and we're hoping that this is something that'll come out. And if it does well, we'll see a vinyl version, hopefully.
Yeah, if I think the odds are better if Walter found the script. And
Walter said that they are in a storage facility in Jersey.
By the way,
am I giving away trade secrets here?
No. While I'm thank you for bringing this up, because while I'm pitching pants all these ideas tonight, I'm going to send this to Walter. I'm going to say, hey, can you watch this? We got a bunch of ideas and stuff and things.
Yeah, but Walter's a big Dylan fan, and that's going to
that's going to screw me over.
I want to do an episode where I go through the storage facility.
Yeah, good luck with that.
I know. Good luck with that. Can you imagine?
With Jordan's or Dave's?
No, Dave's. Dave's.
Warren was on Ferguson February 17, 2000 and June 28, 2002.
Wow.
Kilborn, you mean?
Kilborn.
Kilborn.
That'd be Kilborn. That's wow.
Jordan was playing with the Wallflowers when they did Lawyers, Gun and Money on
Jordan was on 4
yeah,
times.
pretty much 2 years later, October 12th, 2004. And
Yeah.
then Searching for a Heart on June 7, 07.
Yep.
You
That
know, a
was to
question
promote
that
the
I don't.
Preludes album.
Pardon me?
That was
Sorry,
to
I
promote the
apologize.
Preludes album.
Yeah. And his
Sorry,
last
Mike,
appearance
go ahead.
was
No.
April of 08 when he did The Joke's on Me.
Yep, from
Mhm.
his solo album.
Okay.
Great album, by the way. It's streaming right now too. If anyone's interested.
With the Wallflowers, are those Letterman performances up online?
Mhm.
Okay, good.
Yep, they can be found.
So people should be going and looking for all of this stuff here. I want that book, and man, the mock-ups. Oh, that's the question I was going to ask you, Adam. Is it possible to get those mock-ups out there, or are they like, no, never,
No.
not gonna? Okay.
No.
And to everybody, he got permission to show me this stuff, and when we have Jordan on, that might be something that maybe he wants to share, or we can at least talk about the theme or whatever. It's so beautiful, and a great,
thank you.
in some ways, a great entry point for someone to jump into Zevon with a high quality way, and with both feet.
The idea of the project kind of came from the last. There's been a couple compilations, but the 2-disc compilation called "I'll Sleep When I'm Dead." It ends after Mutineer, and this is kind of everything after Mutineer, so it kind of fills in that gap really well. We would love to do a career-spanning compilation again. That's complicated though, in terms of streaming rights and physical rights and all that stuff. So, if anyone is interested yeah,
No, please finish. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, if anyone is interested in getting into Zevon, there's a Spotify playlist that I made. It's the official Zevon playlist. It's called Draw Blood. It's 40 tracks curated by me, and it's kind of what I would see as a good compilation. And obviously, the tracks I picked the day I did it would be different than the tracks I would pick today, and it'll probably be different than the tracks I'd pick tomorrow. But I think it's a good starting point for anyone interested in hearing his main songs.
Adam, I got to ask you again. You got to officially curate a Warren Zevon.
It's a Spotify playlist. Let's not go crazy here.
I hear you. I'm just saying, dream come true.
It was a cool day to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. God, I hope that I can be tapped one day to help. I mean, Don, obviously you're working there or consulting there, whatever your arrangement is, I have no idea what kind of an arrangement.
I'll also say this concerning the Epilog project. If we end up not being able to use, Letterman tracks or what have you, or we're still going to do some sort of release with those 3 albums collected. But the idea to use the Letterman stuff was high on our list. We would love to be able to include that.
Wouldn't it be cool if somehow, some way, there could be a My Next Guest and Jordan is the guest in something and it becomes a thing? I'm just throwing that out there. There's some pretty cool possibilities that we could do, because I still want this guy in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I think that there's a sentiment for that. If we did something to make it really uber relevant again, that would be a shot in the arm for that endeavor, wouldn't it?
The Hall of Fame was very interesting this year, and that it created a lot of awareness about his music. Of course, Billy Joel helped with that.
Absolutely.
I think it was an article in the LA Times where he kind of advocated for Warren to get inducted, which was very nice of Billy to do. But I have access to the streaming numbers and all that stuff, and it was really interesting to see the interest in his catalog increase with the extra notoriety and the press. Jordan and I started a kind of a ground roots Facebook and social media campaign to really get the word out there. And we got him to number 3 in the popular vote behind George Michael and Cyndi Lauper. That's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Of course, we'd love to see him go in. It didn't happen this year. I think there's a lot of good reasons why that didn't happen. I think Michael's the headliner, as he should be, as the main person this year.
Yeah.
But it gets to a point that you can't induct 3 or 4 people that have passed away in the same year. It gets kind of depressing. So we're hoping for another year, but we're running out of years.
I think there's a category there for somebody who's been gone for a long time, but it's one of those ones. Like, I think that you could have you could have three of those a ceremony and not bump into each other, because I mean, you do one for every genre. Gosh, you could do it for a hip hop, a country, and a Americana, which I think that's how I would categorize Warren, as Americana. What you got there, Don? There's that picture.
Here's the Daniel Ellison picture that he took. This is in the research department in, I guess, 95.
And she's holding a stack of Warren Zevon CDs.
What I did is,
there it is, right there. That's Mutineer.
Yep, from 95.
And by the way, any time that he plays Mutineer the way he played it on Dave, the quiet version of it with just the piano, I don't know how many times he did that, but that's my favorite. I like that so much better than the original.
He also performed it on the Jon Stewart show, the syndicated version of the Jon Stewart show after he left MTV.
Mm-hmm.
It's worth checking out too.
The Kilborn performances. Do you how are you going to access them, or have you already?
We haven't yet. We would assume all that would still be owned by Worldwide Pants, so it would be hopefully wherever the Letterman Late Show library would be.
I'd like to do a podcast featuring that as well.
I don't know if they've digitized Kilborn yet.
Okay.
They may have, but I don't know. I think as of 2 years ago they had not.
I assume that's probably not a priority either.
Yeah. I know I taped all of Kilborn, so I have it. But it's on VHS, and it's probably in mono too.
I'm going to change the subject. I apologize. Yeah. Do we know Ferguson's coming back, right? Is this the first you're hearing of it? Ferguson coming back?
Coming back to what?
I believe syndicated late night.
Syndicated, really?
Yeah, he's going to make a play syndication late night. That's what I had heard. I read it in a couple different places. I probably maybe should have Googled it before bringing it up again, but screw it. I could be wrong, and I'm not affiliated with
attempted to come back too.
I'd like to be, even when I'm wrong.
Syndicated version. Kilborn attempted to come back too. I think it was syndicated around the LA area. I think it was called the Fact File or something like that.
Yeah, and he still has a podcast, I think.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
I know it's not a popular opinion, and I know Peter LaSalle does not agree with this, but I really liked the Craig Kilborn version of the Late Late Show. I liked his, I would say, character, but I think it was pretty much him. I liked the aura he had on TV. I thought he was really funny.
We had their EP on our show.
It's amazing how we're alike.
We both love Dylan and we both love Kilborn, right? We can all agree that Ferguson did a great job, though, I think.
Oh, I love him.
I liked him.
Loved him so much. I love those puppets. Those puppets made me so happy.
Amazing.
Oh my God. I just, because again, he's throwing in a little bit of Mr. Rogers into it. And that's amazing. Just with his own spin, of course. I love the musical openings. Oh my God. I love the musical openings on Craig Ferguson.
I'll see if I can dig these up. Dig these out.
They might be. Oh, sorry, Don. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, the Kilborn stuff. I'll see if I can dig them out. And I mean that literally, because it's buried.
Speaking of the Late Late Show, and we brought up Tom Snyder earlier. I remember a few years ago, I was reading an interview where they were doing a Tom Snyder documentary called Tom Who. Is that still a thing? Does anyone know?
The one that Annie is a part of?
Yes.
There is an incarnation of that, and I can't say how much of it is close to that versus how much of it has completely changed. There is still a project that is. I'm waiting to have Annie on here. We've actually booked times a couple of times, and the timing's not right yet. I think it's pretty close, and that's one of the things she's going to talk about when she comes on here. So yeah, definitely in the works to talk about that. And I mean, again, as we're assembling a nucleus of a group that potentially could be like, she's another one that would be a part of that, I think.
I signed an NDA, so I can't say anything.
And you're not lying. And it's annoying. You have no idea how many times when we're talking that actually comes up. I can't talk about that.
Gabe mentioned it once or twice.
That's a good sign,
though. Okay, how are we doing here? This is what 2? Is this 2 hours?
3?
Yeah, it's a long time.
We're
I
going
think most
Rogan
of the
style.
listeners
I
are
love
done.
it. Okay,
Yeah,
we're
I
gonna
gotta
finish
go
it.
to Steeler.
We're gonna finish up here.
I'm gonna play. Yeah, I'm gonna play all my Dylan songs.
Good for you, buddy. I'm
Perfect.
gonna be playing some more Beatles tonight. That Now and Then is like I'm in love with that song. I want to learn it and play it on my guitar. I would love it so much.
Have you
Oh
listened
my
to the
God.
fully remixed Red and Blue albums yet?
No.
It just arrived today. I haven't watched either. I haven't listened to either of them, and there are no details in the liner notes.
Are they
which
streaming?
Really?
Pisses me off.
Mm-hmm. They're streaming.
Okay,
So
well, I
they've
know what I'm
remixed
doing when I've done
everything.
this. I'm going to
So especially those the early songs are typically in mono, or if they are in stereo, the vocals were in one channel and everything else was
Right.
hard in the other channel.
right.
So
Do you
they've
know-
used that
do you-
technology. Go ahead, Don.
Yeah, I mean, do you know if, let's say, "Love Me Do," if that was Peter Jackson?
Yes, they all were. All of the
Okay.
songs were Peter Jackson, and they've been remixed into stereo.
Okay, yeah.
So
Holy
they're
shit.
pretty
gonna-
successful.
And the White Album is a part of this?
The White Album's already been remixed
All right.
into stereo from the original master tapes, and that came out in, I don't know, 2018, give or take a few years.
Sgt. Pepper's was too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Revolver and
that.
On have all been
Yes,
released as
correct.
deluxe.
Revolver
deluxe
came out
collection.
last year, I think.
Yeah, this new song is just absolutely bonkers to me. I just can't believe it. And the video for it makes you cry. Holy smokes. And it's funny. I recommend this to folks who might want to get into the Beatles. If Now and Then is an access point, then go back to 94 when they did Free as a Bird and watch that video as well. And I love knowing that this version of a remastered or revitalized Beatles song is with AI and it cleans it up. The one in 94 with Free as a Bird, not so much. It sounded like you were coming from a tape, and it has a charm to it. If you watch the video for Free as a Bird, I think you'll have a new appreciation for it. And it's a fantastic access point for people who want to get into the Beatles.
The
And then
meticulousness that Jeff Lynne had for those two tracks
Yep.
For the anthology series is incredible. It's amazing
Absolutely.
it was able to happen at all.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
I'm surprised they didn't remix them for this
but
project too.
they came off as Jeff Lynne tracks.
They did, especially the
That's
drum
my
sound.
issue
But
with that. You know,
Yeah,
I mean,
still
Jeff
good, though.
Lynne has been stuck with the Walrus era, so and never quite grew out of that. But of course, I know what I'm talking about.
you do. You're a big
No, I
Beatles
don't.
aficionado.
I don't. I'm making it up.
this coming from a Dylan fan.
Yeah, there it is. Holy crap. This has been one of the coolest Letterman podcasts ever.
Oh, there's the Red Album. Yeah, there we go.
Hey, there
Sorry,
you go.
they
New
just
version,
arrived
Don?
today. Pardon me?
Those are the new versions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I double checked to make sure the copyright said 2023, then not 1940.
The artwork on the streaming platforms actually has 2023 on it. So if you go looking for it, Mike, you'll see it. And,
As soon
and
as
of
this
course,
is done,
it's
I'm
fun
going to
to
dive into some Beatles tonight. This is going to be great.
it's fun to compare to the originals too, and everyone will debate until the end of time whether it's better or not better. But we're still listening to it, so
Absolutely.
they did something right.
Yeah.
There are 7 tracks from the White Album that are on here.
Oh, right. They
Whoa.
expanded it, didn't they? Both are expanded from the original.
Is
issue.
Revolution number 9 one of them?
The single version of Revolution is on there.
Not on here. I think just the single.
Yeah, the single version is not
The
number
single,
9.
not number 9, not the
Right.
not the
Not the
version
funky
that
one.
I like to eat a piece of candy that is legal up here in Canada. And there's the one right there. That's one of my that's an entry point to another dimension, I think. Man, this has been so much fun. What else? Anything else before I'm open. I mean, I'm whatever. Like, we're Roganing this. This is the first time I've ever done this. I think it's got to be one part. It's just us. I love this
Let me see
so much.
If there's anything else? There is a couple things. We'll try to sell some things before I leave.
Yeah.
Excitable Boy is available from Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab on 2 LP vinyl and Super Audio CD. from the master tapes directly.
Are vinyls selling? I know
Yeah.
there's a market, but is it a big market?
I think there's a high margin. I think that's really what it comes down to. And it's
Awesome.
enough of a margin that people will pay for it.
Mhm.
I mean, they sell vinyl in Walmart. There's, the 8 or 12 foot section there. So if it's selling there and there's enough margin, sure.
Yeah.
I'm
Um,
I'll be
I'm
right
severely
back.
limited right now. I'm severely limited my ability to spend the way I like to spend sometimes. But the moment, like my wife, she's building the men's mental wellness app. He changed it, and go to hechangedit.com to find out what my wife and her amazing team are doing. She's
Now you're
changing the
selling
world.
things.
She's changing the world, and I'm talking about David Letterman and all of the people that worked for him. I married up. Anyway, when that thing blows up and I have like near unlimited income, I am building the biggest vinyl collection on the biggest tube amp amazing setup. And I am going to like devote a room to it. It'll probably be the same room my studio's in. And on the other end of it will be like a vinyl central because all the soundproofing on the walls and all that stuff. And I'm excited about that. And Warren Zevon, I'll have everything that he has in vinyl. Don, what do you have there?
Don's doing show and tell.
This is the revolver that I got from a some sort of, I forget what outlet released this.
Is the track listing different or is it just different art?
Well, here's what's the fun part. Let me see if I can get this.
I have that too. I'll be back.
Yeah.
No, well, look how revolver is spelled.
Yeah. Yes. It's spelt wrong. It's got a spelling error on it.
Yeah.
I'm curious if Adams will have the spelling error as well.
You better not.
Oh man, this is like the most hard-hitting podcast we've ever done. It's unbelievable. I love this. I fucking love this so much. Is it spelled
There's
wrong?
my copy.
Is it spelled wrong?
No, yeah, no, but this is yeah, check the spine.
Check the spine. Look at Don's spine.
Yeah, I think that's Apple's version.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Show
Yeah.
Adam yours again, Don.
Here we go.
Oh, look at that.
Isn't that amazing?
Whew. Someone got fired for
Revolver.
that.
I love this stuff.
That's the Tom Brokaw pronunciation.
Oh man, I got a chance to talk to that to Dan Flaherty. I got a chance to talk to him about Brian Williams today. That made me very, very happy. Brian Williams is like one of my number one gets for the Letterman podcast. I want Brian
Can I
on
show
the
something
show
else
so bad.
off that I
Yes.
today?
Oh my God.
There's a gold album award for The Wind.
Wow.
That's rad.
Yeah, so that'll be hanging up here shortly.
Oh my God. That's fantastic, Adam.
So you stole that out of the storage area.
Exactly.
It's okay. There's a stack of them. They won't miss one.
One thing I do want to mention before I go.
Yeah.
Shooter Jennings, son of Waylon Jennings, who
Yes, sir.
famously walked out on Tom Snyder. It all comes back around.
Yeah,
He
which
just
I
released.
put up that show.
Yeah, I watched it a couple days ago. It's hilarious.
Nice.
Poor Tom has to fill like 20 minutes of airtime.
Yeah, because
Which-
Dr. Laura went over.
Yes, it went way over. And if anyone can fill 20 minutes of time, it's Tom Snyder. He did
Absolutely.
just fine.
The
Anyway,
gold standard.
Waylon's son Shooter Jennings just released a live album called Shooter Jennings and the Werewolves of LA Do Zevon. And it's a live Zevon album. It's available on CD, vinyl, and streaming.
Wow.
It came out last week.
Excellent.
And it's fantastic. And no,
Excellent.
I don't get paid to say that. It's really good.
Let me see. I'm going to see if I can find something. Hang on.
Adam, are you a YouTube fan?
A U2 fan?
Yeah.
Or
I like
YouTube?
No,
Oh, the
U2, the band.
The band, I really, really got into U2 when I was in college.
Yep.
And they just kind of fizzled out for me.
Gotcha.
But
Not like
yeah,
Bob
I mean, they're
Dylan where you
great.
kind of turned off it's not like that. It's just
No, nothing turned me off. I just think it was just, I don't want to say overexposed, but it just seems like you can never get away from U2.
yeah, no, that's a fair point. When Achtung Baby had its, I want to say 30th anniversary, they had released the album with every track having a different band do a cover of that
Oh,
track.
like interpret it.
interpret it, and so it was like Snow Patrol did was it With or Without You? Anyway, it's I would love to see. Nine Inch Nails did one. Jack White did Love Is Blindness. Like, it was spectacular.
Cool.
Would
Jack White's great.
Oh, he's fantastic. Would there be like a list somewhere if you were to put out a CD like that, or an album like that, and a list of bands to cover Warren songs? Has that ever been discussed?
There is 2 tribute albums out.
Yeah.
Already. One's called Enjoy Every Sandwich. I think Adam Sandler performed Werewolves of London on The Late Show, actually, to kind of promote it. Don's looking that up now as I speak.
It's the
and
power of this triad.
And there's one called Hurry Home Early.
Yeah.
So those are the 2 that are officially released. It'll be fun to do another sort of revisiting of that. Obviously, Linda Ronstadt, early in her career, covered 4 of Warren's songs, and that kind of paid the bills for Warren for a long time.
Wow.
Jason Isbell performed Mutineer on The Late Show. So it would be fun to do that. Oh, Dawes. Dawes is a great band. It was a web exclusive. They performed Desperados Under the Eaves, which was a web exclusive summer, I'll say 2012, 2013, something like that. So it'll be great to have bands like Dawes take part and do things like that.
I just want to express to the heads of the Warren Zevon estate and Letterman and all that. Your next generation's in good hands. We go deep on this stuff, and we care deep on this stuff. Holy smokes. This is...
Don has some information for us. What did you find,
let's hear it, Don.
Oh, the Jason Isbell and Isbell or Isabel? Isbell. And Amanda Shires did Mutineer on April 24, 2015. So less than a month after the show ended.
That was 4 days after my day. I was there on the April 20th.
It's mentioned here. It says here, this is before Mike.
That's right.
I couldn't find Adam performing Zevon on Letterman. Maybe he was on another show, but
maybe I thought he did Werewolves of London. I know it's part of that album.
I wonder if it would have been the Tonight Show.
Oh, there it is. I see it. I missed it because he was also promoting Spanglish.
Spanglish, yeah.
December 1504. You're absolutely right.
Okay.
I want to listen to Adam Sandler's song. I want him to come on this show. And what do we got there?
You know, this album, this came out in '66.
Yeah. Do you have the other cover, Don?
Included tracks. This was the American version that included tracks that had been on the British versions of Revolver and I think and Rubber Soul. But if you peel it off,
do you have you have that cover?
Yeah.
Look at that.
This is the Butcher's cover.
The Butcher cover.
It cost me $2.50 to get this.
Holy wow! And you're talking about it in 2023. Yeah. That's fantastic.
So if I might be able to part with this if you give me the address of the storage area, but it's not, that's not gonna happen.
Seriously, wouldn't it be cool if I had a camera and I could go through the Letterman storage unit, the boxes of jackets I would find and all the fun things? Don't you think that'd be fun? I think that'd be fun.
It's a different conversation.
All right, fair enough. I love both of you guys. This has been amazing, but I'm calling it.
All right.
I'm calling
it.
We're
fun.
there.
I'm sorry it took me so long to get on.
No, man, it's okay. It was supposed to happen when it was supposed to happen, and this has been fantastic. I can't wait to explore more. I can't wait to see my vision is.
It'll never air, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's right.
You hit the record button, right?
Yes,
it's recording. I see it.
Yeah. Don, when we're done this, check out the video I put up of Dan Flaherty. It's pretty good.
On the Facebook?
I put it up on the YouTube. Just a 12-minute video today. After we finished recording, he started telling me more stories. I'm like, I have to record this. And I turned it on and he told like 3 more stories, including when he almost got his face incinerated by a kid scientist segment. A kid threw flour and ignited it at the end of a tube, and it came out and almost burnt his face off. We want that clip. We want the clip if possible, but
I'm no longer allowed on YouTube, so that could be
I know.
Mike, do you have time for one more quick story?
Of course.
Are you a Star Wars fan?
I'm a gigantic Star Wars fan. I have Slave One on my arm.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So here's a quick Zevon related Star Wars story.
All right.
Hey, there it is. We can't call it Slave One anymore. I think it's called the Fire Spray or something.
It's always called it's always called Slave One to me. I have it in a box. Boba Fett's Slave One.
That's fantastically dorky. Wonderful.
Yeah, I know, man. I go
So
hard.
quick,
I got Letterman's
Zevon
microphone on my back too.
That's awesome. All right, quick Star Wars. Hey,
that's the one.
Awesome. So quick Star Wars related Zevon story.
I cannot wait to hear this.
A year or two ago on Disney Plus, they released that Industrial Light and Magic documentary.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
It's great. So I'm there watching it because I love Star Wars.
Yeah.
And they start talking to this gentleman named Richard Edlund.
Yes.
And they go through the history of each individual person that started ILM. And I'm just eating up, and it's wonderful.
Yes.
And Richard Edlund starts talking about before he was with Industrial Light and Magic, he took photographs for rock and roll bands and did covers for rock and roll bands. And it's doing the covers. I think it's like Toto and whoever else. And it shows the very first Zevon album called Wanted Dead or Alive. And I'm like, holy crap, this guy shot the cover for that album. So I find his website, shoot him an email. His assistant gets back to me. Anyway, I say who I am, what I'm interested in. I like the interviewing, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
So I leave my job, my normal job. I pick up my daughter at daycare. My boss had called me, and I was talking to my boss. I get off the phone with him. My phone rings again. I assume it's my boss again. So I pick up. I'm like, hello, this is Adam. My daughter's in the background yelling and screaming and throwing candy and whatever. And I just hear this voice go, so my assistant tells me you want to interview me. And I have no clue who it is. Not an idea. So I'm trying to drive home and trying to keep my daughter pacified and trying to remember what my boss wanted.
Yeah.
So I'm just going along with the conversation. Oh, yeah, it'd be really nice to talk. He said, well, I heard you want to talk about my friend Warren Zevon. I'm like, yeah, I would. He's like, well, my assistant told me you got a hold of me, and we can talk next Tuesday. Do you have a pencil and a paper? And I'm in the car. Thankfully, I have a miniature golf pencil from going with my son.
Oh, it's such a perfect addition to the story. You have a miniature golf pencil.
And it's perfect dad. It's perfect dad karma. Had I not been a good dad and take my son to miniature golfing, I wouldn't have that pencil.
Yeah.
So he's like, all right, Richard Edlund. And I'm like, oh, it's the Star Wars guy. So in the meantime, I do all this research on him. Of course, he's part of the Academy of Motion Picture Science and Arts. He did all the Indiana Jones movies and Ghostbusters and Die Hard, and of course, Star Wars.
Yep.
So we set up a time and I interview him. I asked maybe 3 questions, and the interview was 2 hours, and it was awesome. And I'm still editing it, and it'll be up on the website soon.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yep.
So you recorded it.
I recorded it like we're doing today.
Except again, Letterman Podcast Network. Letterman Podcast Network. Look what we can. Anyway,
I'm doing the interview like I am here in the room.
Yes.
And I'm like, I'm not going to talk about Die Hard. I'm not going to talk about Star Wars. I'm not going to be that guy. And we get through all the Zevon stuff and his whole life history. And he has a book. He's a memoirs that he's writing. And we talk about some maybe future Zevon stuff. And he says to me, I see your posters on the wall. Do you like Star Wars? Like, yeah, I love Star Wars. And he goes into the story of how they shot the opening scene of Episode 4, the first Star Wars movie. And he describes how the Star Destroyer is going over camera and how George wasn't sure about the shot and did the camera so close to the Star Destroyer was scraping the bottom of the model. And you want to talk about freaking out? This guy's just talking about Star Wars and making the movie for about half an hour straight. And I didn't even ask him. It was wonderful. So that'll be coming soon on the website as soon as I'm done editing it. So I have 1 hour edited, and I'll get the rest of it hopefully done soon.
Don's in editing hell right now, aren't you, buddy?
Stop talking about that. If you had discussed this earlier, I apologize. What is your normal job?
I'm in retail management. I'm on the district management team for a retail manager. So that's what I do by day.
I don't know what that means.
It pays the bills. That's what it means.
Okay.
I want-
Yeah, no, I understand that.
I'm gonna use Don's favorite word here. I'm gonna say, dude, we got to manifest that this becomes, we can do this full time and do some real damage when it comes to this thing that we love doing so much. I know you and I both are just as passionate, regardless if it ever does or doesn't. But how cool would it be if it ever did? I'm so excited to know you, man. And Don, did you want to say one more thing before I close her up?
No, I have an X-Acto knife.
I see it. I see it.
And you used manifest as a verb.
You're gonna cut the Foo Fighter shirt right now, aren't you?
Well, that was I hadn't considered that.
I want the Foo Fighter shirt. God damn it. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. This has been the longest episode of the Letterman podcast by far, I think. That guy is Adam Unger. He's Warren Zevon's guy. Hopefully that makes sense. That's Don Giller.
If I can real quick.
Yeah.
I'm always looking for help. Any Zevon collectors who has anything, posters, press kits, promo CDs, any information, I could be reached at adam@warrenzevon.com. Please get a hold of me.
There it is. adam@warrenzevon.com. Don Giller, go ahead.
He was in my apartment and I taped him playing a whole bunch of new songs that hadn't been released yet. You want that? Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
There's no room to sing a song in Don's place.
There used to be.
I love you guys. Thank you so much.
Nice to meet you, Don. Mike, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, love you guys so much. Gosh, that was just too much fun. It's so much fun that it shouldn't be legal. I'm so grateful to these guys. A lot of fun on this episode here. Adam, can't wait to have Jordan Zevon on, but this is a fantastic prelude. And in between now and then, go and consume some Warren Zevon stuff. Get into it. And so when we have Jordan on here, I don't know, maybe we could do some Q&As or something like that. This has been another episode of the Letterman Podcast with Mike Chisholm. Coincidentally, I am Mike Chisholm. Thank you and good night.
Overcoat and underpants.